you getting yourself ready for our show?
Alrighty, guys, Jigs and Bigs, it's another week. We've got a great show lined up for you guys. You know this podcast. We like to talk about fishing and all kinds of other adjacent things that line up to it. We like to have a whole lot of fun, and we hope that you're here to have fun with us, guys. This week, we got a whole bunch of good stuff to talk about. Shawn the Fisherman is back. He's got some explaining to do, but don't worry, we got all kinds of good stuff lined up for you. We got information about the Jigs and Bigs tournament series. 2 really amazing things happening in the month of July that you're not going to want to miss. We've got information on all that. In Bait of the Week this week, we're talking about stick baits, but we're not talking about different types of stick baits. We're talking about rigging techniques and usage and how you can kind of get the most out of it. We've got an FTG this week that is definitely going to ruffle some feathers, or maybe scales is the more operative word. You're not going to want to miss that. We had somebody coming in basically calling out a member of the Jigs and Bigs team as a Karen. We have some strong feelings about that we are going to share. You're not going to want to miss it, guys. Grab yourself something ice cold and delicious. We have so much good stuff to tell you. Happy Father's Day to all the dads that are listening to the show this week. We will see you next time we see you, which is right after this little interlude right here. Alrighty, guys, I'm getting a comment here. Somebody saying that they're not hearing the music, which is okay because I am going to fix that for them right now. Boom, done deal. You guys are good to go. All those effects, everything else, you'll hear it all. There we go. Beautiful. You guys able to hear that? My co-host.
Disregard, yeah.
Beautiful.
I also just typed you. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes, I love it. It was just when I was trying to pirate things off of Netflix for the use of the show. It discombobulated all of the technology that I had. Steve Jobs rose from the grave and said, "Fuck you, Bobby. No, you don't." That's what happened. That's what happened. Now Patrick is laughing, which is good. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. Let's do some quick housekeeping here before we dive into everything, because this whole first segment is jam-packed with adventure, intrigue, mystery, drama, and information that you can use. So a couple of things. First and foremost, we have some fantastic folks that are in the Jigs and Bigs life. And those folks are what we like to call our jig heads. Our jig heads are awesome. What is a jig head? Well, a jig head is somebody who loves this show and wants to be involved so much that they want to see the recording of it. They want the factory tour at the sausage plant. They want to know about all the ins and outs, the lips, the assholes, everything that goes in. And that's what we're here to show you guys, our lips and our assholes. No, but if you really wanted to get into into the exclusive club of being a jig head, be involved with the recording process, being able to comment and kind of like be involved with the show and engage with us as we create it. It's a great way to do it. It's a Patreon, folks. You subscribe. It's $5 a month. It gets you all kinds of stuff. Anytime we have some kind of a deal or a discount we can put out there, we look for better deals for our jig heads exclusively, and some that are totally exclusive to our jig heads. We post that stuff in there too. So if you're a new jig head and you haven't seen some of these things, go back into the old posts and see what's available for you and take advantage. We also have some giveaways for our jig heads. We have all kinds of great stuff. And we also like take their, I would say, comments and reviews and criticisms much, much more to heart than we do anybody else, because they're there all the time. We love our jig heads. They're fantastic. If you want to be a jig head, you can sign up very easily. Just go to jigsandbigs.com. There's a button that says join our Patreon. Click that button. You can sign up. $5 a month. It goes directly to help the show. Keep us on the air. You know, keep these fancy pieces of equipment, preventing us from pirating content that we shouldn't be pirating.
Bad, Bobby, bad.
We have lots of good stuff. Plus, on jigsandbigs.com, you can buy your merch. Jigs and Bigs official merchandise is available there. We've got hats, we've got hoodies, we've got shirts, handful of different t-shirt styles. We've even got a Bluetooth speaker available for you. You can also get your Bobby Roast Beef merch there. If you're really a complete stalker, you can get that stuff too. And the one last thing, and thinking this is like a call to action. I had recently been taking a deep dive on a bunch of different podcasts. Some of these podcasts you're going to hear me soon on as a guest. And one of the things that came up one time on this one podcast, Budget Overland, was Apple podcast reviews and ratings. It seems as if the Apple Corporation has sort of their thumb on podcast ratings and reviews overall. So I ask you, if you're listening to this podcast on an Apple device, maybe you're like me and you like to listen to your podcast on Spotify and find them all that way, no problem. Just open up Apple Podcasts for me. Leave us a rating and a review if you could. That would be great. We will take any kind of constructive criticisms that you have. I'm not asking to blow smoke up our ass or anything like that, but the more numbers we can get there, the more it kind of works the algorithm so that folks can find us. And speaking of finding us, holy shit. Thank you guys. Because right now, episode 170, the one that came out last week, is actually has a handful more listens than the one that came out 2 weeks ago. And we've never done that in the entirety of this show ever. We've never had that many listens just flood right in. So thank you guys. We appreciate you. You're amazing. Now let's get to our weeks. Shawn, do you want to jump in on this and go first?
Yeah, I let's get this out of the way first.
All right.
Everybody knows I how many shows have I missed since I came on as a co-host? Two,
Never.
maybe?
No, other than last week, none.
No, one. Remember last year, I was traveling and could not record.
Oh,
the option was either I get on a call while I was driving between the Finger Lakes of New York and North Carolina, which would not have been good because if I would have been going in and out of service, what good would that have done? And I believe Wild Bill came in on that one, right?
I think was the show that I had Wild Bill and Elise on.
There you go.
Yeah,
well,
that's right.
Thanks to them last year, and thanks to Elise again this year for holding down the fort while I was out of commission. And what happened was, I mean, I'm just going to tell the story as I've been telling it. Last weekend was my wife and I's 16th wedding anniversary. We got married out on the Cape. We planned a nice Cape trip this week, or that weekend to celebrate. I picked out a really, really nice restaurant for Friday night, and it was a late dinner. And immediately after the dinner, I started having some really sharp, nasty chest pains upon inhalation. And knowing what I know about my issues with some foods, I let it go because sometimes that does happen, but it was really, really intense. The intensity level was bad. I tried to sleep it off and it didn't really work. The next day I was in a little less pain, but it went on throughout the day. So that's all day Saturday. I was having chest pain again upon full inhalation. And then Sunday morning I woke up and it was also there. So now I'm thinking, what is happening? This is not normal.
Yeah.
The area where the pain was, it could have been esophageal. I do have some esophagus issues, and it hurt. It hurt bad. And by 5 or 6 o'clock on Sunday night, I decided to get checked out at an urgent care center. And what they did was gave me a quick once over and then ran an EKG to make sure. And like I had told them, I'm pretty sure this is digestive, but I want to rule out any heart issues.
Yeah.
And that was actually in the notes of I got the paperwork after the fact, and that was in the notes, rule out heart issues. And when they did that, the EKG, they discovered that I do have my doctor even used the word benign, a common heart issue dealing with the electrical impulses that go on between the chambers. Yeah. And as long as I take care of myself, continue losing weight, eat better, don't eat fried foods, the normal things that you do for heart health, not eating, not smoking, not drinking, which I don't do that either. And they even asked my doctor, what about sleepy time medicine? She said, yeah, you're smoking it, right? I said, maybe. She said, well, you might want to reconsider that. And I said, okay, so I'm going to really be taking a step back from that. Am I going to abstain? Absolutely not. But is party time going to come on a more infrequent basis? Absolutely. So continuing with Sunday, from that point, without calling an ambulance, the doctor said, you need to go to an ED and get checked out.
Yep.
We went to the largest hospital in our area.
Oh yeah.
I got checked in, blood work done, another EKG, and a full series of chest X-rays. And that was at 8:00 at night. I think I was done. So I got there about 7:30. By 8:30, we were done with all the tests. And then I sat in the ED until 1:00 in the morning when my wife said, the kids have school. They were home waiting for us. The kids have school. She was going to go home, get a few hours of sleep and take care of that. And I said, well, look, I'll be fine in the hospital. I passed out for about 2.5, 3 hours, whatever it was. Woke up like 4:30, and between 4:30 and 5, the sun was already coming out, and no one in the ED had moved. No one.
Amazing.
Absolutely. No one had moved. So I went up to the desk and say, hi, I was asleep. Did my name get called? And the nurses at the desk just kind of laughed and said, nobody's moved. Like, there's people that have been here. They even said this. There's people that have been here for 16 hours. I'm like, what the fuck? So I didn't say that, but I'm like, do you guys understaffed? Is there a doctor shortage? Did the doctor not come in? No, they're just all busy. I'm like, for fucking 16 hours, like an ED doctor cannot be that busy. And I don't know that, but that's my guess. So this was 5:00 in the morning. I'd called my wife. I said, okay, that's great. I'm checking out. Fuck this. Like, honestly, my thought was, if there's really a problem, I'll fucking die at home. Like, this is stupid. I'm not going to die in a
why
chair
sit there? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, they checked my vitals twice over the course of 8 hours. What the fuck good is that? I could have died in the middle of it, and they would have went to take my vitals, and I'm already fucking dead.
Yeah.
They think I'm asleep. So I went home, I took like a 3-4 hour nap, got right up, went to the VA when they opened. We have a clinic in Springfield who I love going to. Can't say enough good things about the VA. Unfortunately, their sick call, kind of like, it's not really it's more of like an urgent care type thing. I guess that's probably the best relation. If you're not military, Joe knows the word sick call. When you're sick, you go to sick call when you're in the military. It's more like an urgent care when something needs to be checked out right away. They didn't have a physician on. They only had a nurse on at that time. Shit happens. And I said, well, what do you recommend? They said, well, obviously make an appointment with your doctor, your PCP, which I did for later that week. And then they said, get a hold of your records because we can't get a hold of them for some reason. They were trying to and couldn't. So I got a hold of all the test records and then did the smartest thing that I could have. I went to a friend of the family who I can't thank enough, a longtime friend of my parents, Tom and Judy. Thank you, Tom and Judy. Both of them retired nurses. Judy at an extremely high level. I think she was a head nurse at pretty much every hospital in Western Mass and Connecticut at one point or another. And her husband is a retired VA nurse. I went and talked to them. They ran through all my stuff and said, okay, yeah, they're right. You do have this what's called a heart block. And of course, when that term was said, I immediately thought blockage, and it's not. It's just that electrical thing going on, and might make me skip a beat every now and again. I said, well, what do I do about it? Like, does this now limit, my exercising? Do I have to worry about fucking dying when I'm on a kayak from a heart attack? And they said, absolutely not. For the most part, you're just going to live with it. And a lot of people live with it and don't even know they have it. And then Tom said they diagnosed him at an early age of life, and he is in his 70s now, and said there's never been an issue. So I said, okay, great. Followed up later in the week with my PCP. She said the exact same thing. And continuing on my weight loss journey, 15 pounds since April, and just making sure I'm eating foods that I should be eating and staying away from the fried shit. Because obviously, my God, that basket of Parmesan truffle fries went down good, but it did not stay down good. It fucked me up. When it hurt for 3 days, like, that's what I'm dealing with in life. So I know a couple people were worried about me and sent some well wishes. I mean, I got a couple messages here and there. So thank you guys for kind of bearing with it. And I mean, look, there's a lot of people out there that really hold by this old school, and I do mean this old school mentality of, and if something's wrong, it'll just pass or whatever. If you think there's even an issue, your body, get checked out. Like, this is why we all pay fucking health insurance. Go get checked out. And you never know what going in for one thing might uncover something that could make you
Oh yeah.
reassess your habits and your health. And that's where I'm at. I don't want to fucking knock off the next couple of years. I got a lot of fishing to do. So I'd like to continue breathing the same air that we all breathe. And that was that. But it was a fucking scare. I'll tell you that. Because I did not know what was going on. So.
No,
yeah.
I believe it, man. And, when you first talked with me about it, the first thing I said to you, I was like, you know what, man? When you talk to your doctor, just mention gallbladder. Because I know two people that I'm very, very close to that have both had exactly the same kind of symptoms that you were having for the same kind of amount of time. And with one of those people, frequently, like they just won't do anything about it is the issue. The other one, they're like, yep, they're like this. They do an ultrasound, I think, for it, and they can determine what's going on. And they basically, it's a quick surgery, but you have to watch it for the rest of your life with what you're eating, and it's fat. Yeah. That's what it is, your gallbladder gets all bent out of shape, and those symptoms, like the pain in that part of your chest, and go like you said, it was like a stabbing pain through your back into the front of your chest, like that.
Yeah, that again, I'm.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's quite possible that you have both things going on.
Yeah, and I'm already dealing with three things really that cause that.
Yeah,
so it's like it could be.
Yeah,
and you and I talked about it. I'm going to be following up on that just to make sure. I forgot to ask my fucking doctor.
Better to make sure, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm by all means, I'm not blowing it off. I just the causes. At least I know how certain things react when I eat certain things or whatever, and it just sucks. Yep. But this is my life, folks. I always laugh. It was funny the first time I saw it. That part of The Office where Daryl's sitting there and he's talking about his soy allergy that he get diagnosed with as an adult.
Yes.
He's like, you know how much shit has soy in it? And that's just how I have to live my life because I have to check everything. My parents made chili tonight. My dad's like, here, I just saved the cans just in case there's any ingredients you don't know. So it was chili, right? You would think chili, canned beans are going to be fine, right? I looked at the ingredients for canned beans and it says processed beans and water. Well, what the fuck's processed?
The process?
Bean, right?
Yeah.
So I look it up.
What was the process?
Yeah. I was like, these beans got something that were going to give me a good fucking is what the process was. And I can't eat them. I looked them up. I'm like, I don't understand why they would put this in there. But again, there's a lot of shortcuts companies take. And a lot of them, unfortunately, will affect me negatively if the shit goes in my body. And it sucks. It sucks ass. I never once thought I would have to live looking at fucking labels to make sure that I'm not going to, at best shit myself, at worst end up in a fucking hospital.
How amazing is that when the best case situation is the fact that you're fucking, shitting constantly, pissing, what does it say?
Pissing out my ass.
Yeah, pissing out your ass all day long. That's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Wow.
It's good times.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever see those TikToks where it's like, I think it's a great value brand for Walmart.
Oh, yeah.
And like on the back of all the boxes, you'll get like a box there, like knockoff Cheerios. And it'll be like, caution, from the same factory as like fish processing and stuff like that.
Crazy.
Like, if you have a fish allergy, it's like, whoa.
Although I'm not going to get in. I don't like talking about what, on the air, we've been through this over the years. Right. I don't talk about what exactly ails me. It's not anybody's business, but I will say this. All right, Joe, exactly in that vein, 180-degree turn. Fruity Dino Bites are the best fucking Fruity Pebbles knockoff you can buy in America. Fruity Dino Bites, everyone. Get them while they're hot.
Is that a Walmart one?
They sell these bags at Walmart. No, it's a different brand. It's not the Walmart Great Value. Okay. But Walmart sells them, and so does like Big Lots, I think. They sell these bags the size of fucking bed pillows. They're fucking phenomenal. Get yourself Fruity Dino Bites. You all will not regret it. And the food coloring in them will, of course, cause you to poop different colors. So enjoy that on the way out. Wow, we're 20 minutes in? We already hit the poop 3 times?
No pun intended with that one. I love it.
Yeah.
That is fucking wonderful.
Fruity Dino Bites. I said that to my brother like 20 years ago when I was out in Nebraska. I'm like, hey, I got to go to the store. I got to pick up this, that. So I'll let you go. And he goes, well, what are you picking up? I said, well, groceries. I got to get whatever, this, that, Fruity Dino Bites. He goes, what the fuck are Fruity Dino Bites? I go, oh, man, I'm sorry. They're Fruity Pebbles, but they call them Fruity Dino Bites for brand X. He goes, are they good? I go, they taste just like the real thing.
Yeah.
So
it's perfect.
Yeah, I'm a fruity Dino Bite supporter from way back.
I love it. I can get behind that shit.
Yeah. So that was the lingering thing for me. I got some other stuff to talk about. Which direction do we want to go in now, Bobby?
Oh, I mean, now might actually be a really good time to talk about the tournament stuff coming up next month.
Oh yeah. All right.
I kind of like we should get this out because I am so fired up about July.
Yes. Yeah. I'm gonna. You guys can, Bobby and Joe, get a drink, take a leak, whatever. I know you can jump in, whatever, but I'll
just
handle
gonna
this.
piss my pants. It'll be fine.
Piss your shit your pants, piss your pants. It's Jigs and Bigs. It's how we roll. Fucking, we live in Gomorrah. Or no, Golgotha. Yeah, that's where we're at.
There we go.
Let's talk about this Mid-Summer Mayhem. Why is this different for us? Well, it's a one-day event. We planned it on a specific day in July because it's the same day Massachusetts kayak bassing, for all you anglers in Massachusetts that are considering participating in the the Mid-Summer Mayhem tournament. Same day, slightly different times. I'll explain that. And there's a reason we did that because it's kind of two different audiences. But there can be overlap if you want to jump in. Mid-Summer Mayhem is a slot tournament. It's an accumulated length of all your fish that you submit between 12 and 17 inches. And I'm going to say this every week until this tournament starts. When we say 17 inches, if you catch a fish that's between 17 and 17 and a quarter, that's a 17 because it's not 17 and a quarter.
Yeah.
Okay. Any fish that crosses or touches that 17 and a quarter line will not count. It won't.
Yep. If
you catch a 19 and say, well, that's 17, not going to count. That's going to be denied immediately. DQ, denied, whatever you want to call it. All right. So it's going to be an 8-hour tournament. It's going to start 8 a.m. Eastern time and go till 4 p.m. Eastern time. The reason for that is, unlike MAKB, which is, rooted firmly in Eastern Standard Time, this tournament's for the whole continental United States.
Exactly.
So when by my mistake, for those of you guys who jumped in early, I actually had the times listed wrong and it was bumped up against MAKB. It's not. It's 8 hours. That 8-hour period of 8 to 4, which would be 7 to 3 Central, 6 to 2 Mountain, and 5 to 1 in way out in the Best Coast.
Yep.
We're all going to be fishing the same time, and it's during pretty much daylight.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 o'clock in the morning, it's daylight everywhere. So that gives everyone sunlight to fish in. All right. We're hoping for everybody across the country to jump in on this.
That's the goal with this.
We are. Anybody who wants to jump in, you've got that time. I just mentioned it. We're going to go through this every week until the tournament. So there are some things I'm concerned about. Now, Bobby and I have talked about this, and my goal for this tournament, not as an angler, as a director, is to not deny or DQ even one fish. I don't want to deny anything. I hate denying shit. I don't want to knock anybody for open mouths. I don't want to do any of that. Okay. Therefore, it is paramount when you register for this, or even before. I don't even know if you can before. We'll have to check into that. But when you register for this, you need to read the rules.
Yeah.
Immediately.
It's 2 pages.
Joe, you haven't registered. Would you do me a favor? Go on Fishing Chaos right now, search Jigs and Bigs or Mid-Summer Mayhem, one of the two, and actually see if you can read the rules. Oh, Bobby, you haven't either?
Yeah, I haven't either.
Oh, okay. Either one.
I'm on it, Sarge.
Okay. Well, either one, just see if you can read the rules without registering for the tournament. But continuing on my rant, read the rules, please. I specifically.
Oh, yeah. You can do it.
You can. Yep. Okay. You can read the rules. Perfect. Get in there. Read the rules. And
by the way, I said 2 pages. It is 5.5. But it's a quick 5.5.
Yeah, it's not. I spaced it. I use a lot of spacing.
There's a lot
just to make sure the points come across like bullets. You guys have got to read the rules. Please, 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 please read the rules before you register. Okay. In the rules, there is a description on how to test your Fishing Chaos settings. This is imperative. Okay. If you guys don't have your phone set up so that Fishing Chaos can see where it's at, I know no one, with high degrees of paranoia likes to let apps use their camera for whatever reason. You have to on this, because if I get your pictures without camera data, those are going to be denied. I repeat, if that camera data is not in there and your phone has not passed all these tests, you are asking for denial and wasting your money.
Yep.
Bobby said it the best. You said it the best last week. Shawn, we have a wonderful crowd of folks that jump in on all our tournaments, and a lot of them are learning tournaments for the first time.
Yep.
This is not a learning tournament.
Yeah, this is different.
Fucking game on. Put on your big boy pants. We're gonna do some fucking fishing. I'm prepping my entire next day while I'm on vacation to do nothing but judging. That's where I'm at for you guys. I love you guys. It's all great. I mean, I'm in it too, but we're doing that. Myself and Nelson said we would judge. I don't think Nelson's going to be involved. He may even be able to judge it as it goes, but we're not counting on that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing about getting it right the first time. If you fuck up, we might not catch it for 24 hours. And if we have to deny a bunch of fish, you can't get those back. So do it right the first time, and there's no way to know. Like, you have to read the rules and follow them.
Mm-hmm.
So back to those test settings. I'll say it here now. On Fishing Chaos, there's a menu on the left. It's 3 lines. You click on those 3 lines, touch those 3 lines. Bobby, tell me if I'm doing this right. I'm pretty sure I have it memorized. You touch the 3 lines. A menu comes up. Your picture or your icon or your initial should be there. You touch that. That is your profile. You go into your profile, and down at the bottom, it says preferences, right, Bobby?
Hold on a second. I'll go to my profile.
Yep. And then
subscription preferences. Yep.
Hit preferences. And then at the bottom of that, there is a test settings button. Okay. You test your settings that way. 3 tests will pop up. The first one is going to test the data on your camera roll. Okay. That, if it's wrong, if something's wrong there and it does not pass, you have to go into your camera settings and make sure that Fishing Chaos is allowed to use cameras or pictures from your camera roll. The second test is the app interacting with the camera itself. So first one's camera roll, second one is a camera. And the third test is, Bobby, what's the third test? I'm forgetting.
Location settings.
Location settings. All of that has to be synced up. You have to make sure those all pass. If they do not pass, please, dear God, test them with well before the 16th so we can help you. Send me an email, send me a text, whatever. I don't give a shit. I want to make sure this stuff's right.
Yep.
And that you guys aren't going to get fish DQ'd. Because if I can see that, you got off the water early to go get signal, and you're turning all these fish in with an hour or 2 left, and it's great, and you've done a great job, and you finished in the money, but none of that camera roll data is there because you've saved the pictures and turned them in signal, they're going to get DQ'd. All right? That's really the biggest thing, all right? As far as the app itself, you have to make sure the app, the camera roll are all good and all the settings are all set. Please pass those tests. Next up, as far as the pictures, taking pictures of the bass, all the instructions are in the rules. To get to the rules, we should probably cover this. You go to the front page of the tournament, and there's a button that says View Rules. You're going to get a PDF pop up. Read it. It's all there. All right. My contact info is at the bottom for emails. Please feel free. I'm not giving up my phone number on air. Please feel free to reach me if there's a real problem and you need to be walked through. I will be happy to call you. Okay. But email me first and leave a phone number with that. All right. The pictures. Okay. The biggest thing I want to knock out is your identifier code and your card cannot be on top of that fish. All right. I don't want to see the fish obscured by an identifier card. We understand that the fish may get obscured by your hand and arm holding it down, which there's a whole section on hand placement in the rules. Please read it. Do not put them on the gills. Keep it right in the middle of the body. Small fish, I understand, are going to get covered up. The whole point of this is there's ways to mask dead fish this way. I don't want to see that shit.
Yeah.
But do not put that identifier card, whatever you're using to put your identifier on top of that fish. Do not. Put it next to it. Go through some of the MAKB tournaments. Go through some of the KBF tournaments. See how people are taking pictures and submitting these fish, and copy them. Because if they've been verified, they're good. If it's good enough for KBF, it's good enough for us. But keep the hands off the tail. I don't want to see people pinching tails. Somebody's going to complain. This is a challenge tournament. So if I miss something, Bobby, if you're in the tournament and you say, hey, fucking Frank Magoo over there out in Idaho is pinching every one of his bass tails. How's he getting away with that? I'll be like, you're right. DQ, Frank Magoo. You're fucking out of here. Sorry. It's in the rules. Keep your hands off the tails. Keep your hands off the heads. Generally, keep your hand in the middle. If it's a small fish, don't spread your fingers. compress them together. It should be good to go.
Use a couple fingers if you have to. Just use two fingers.
If you are, spit on them. That, I think, Bobby, can you think of anything else that we've been talking a lot about? Like,
off the top of my head, no, I think that covers quite a bit of it.
One last thing, because you got a call about this and you consulted me.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
There is a box in the submission page when you go to submit a fish. So you go to submit a fish, you're going to be on I highly recommend if you're doing that tournament, in the menu, when you go to that page, there's a little gear up at the top right. You touch the gear. Down at the bottom, there's a little switch type icon, and it says default view. Every time I'm in a tournament, I leave that on default view, and whenever you open or close the app, it immediately goes to that tournament.
Yeah, that's right. That is very
smart
handy.
move. So set that to default view during the tournament. That'll help you out, save some time, everyone. Next up, if you are in an area with shit signal, and I mean, a bar flashing in and out, there is a box to check that says, Bobby, can you bring it up?
It's when you submit your fish, there is a box that you can check for low res images.
Yeah.
And what it will do is compress that image.
Correct. And you're taking the picture at its normal, whatever it's set for your pixel rate. It's going to be a clear picture. You're going to have that in your camera roll. When it gets submitted, it's going to compress it. It's going to be a shittier picture, but I should be able to see where the line is.
And if there's a question, here's the thing. If there's a question with it, that submission has come through, we can have you just re-upload that image so that we can verify with the original picture if it needs clarification. So,
correct. And to come full circle on this, if someone has zero signal, that's okay. All right, that's fine. What they'd have to do is make sure all of their test settings are good, number one. Number two, take pictures. You don't even have to, don't even bother with the app. You can submit them through camera roll stuff. I'm fine with that. All right. But they're going to have to probably get off the water early to get to signal, because when that tournament ends at 4 Eastern, et cetera, down the line, everyone has 1/2 hour, 30 minutes to submit anything they haven't submitted. 30 minutes. I would prefer to go real time. I go real time with these.
Yeah.
This is in effect, with slightly different rules, a catch 'em all brawl. You've got to submit that within 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, if you call me up and say, Shawn, I tried to submit and it didn't go through, I'm going to say, you had 30 minutes. Your time management is not my problem.
Yeah.
So
that's what it gets down to.
Yeah, we're going to reiterate all of this pretty much every week. I'm hoping to avoid issues, but you and I talked, Bobby, and I said, look, there's going to be a lot of fish put in this day.
Oh, yeah.
And we think there might be an over-under with issues. I said, this is what I'm expecting, because, again, I'm saying read the rules, and I know not everybody's going to do it.
Yeah.
So if you don't read the rules and you get in this tournament and you get DQ'd on something that was in the rules, myself, Bobby Roast Beef, who the fuck is Joe Brown, on behalf of Jigs and Bigs, cry us a river.
You'll be a fuck that guy.
Rules. Yeah, exactly. So that bit of housekeeping is done. You'll hear more from that. Do you want to leave the drawing till the end, Bobby? I think that's probably
why don't we do that? Why don't we do the drawing at the end? Yeah.
We'll end segment one on a positive note, some catch up. But real quick, I'll knock my shit out. Guys, I got back on the water. I was off the water for a week and a half. Jumped right headlong back into an MAKB Western tournament, and honestly, a tournament I didn't think I had a lot of hope in, because the pre-fishing reports, again, from everybody who was out there and in the tournament, didn't go so well. And then we had 14 people, smaller turnout because of Father's Day. I know a lot of people are traveling, and it just didn't work out that way. We had to schedule it this weekend this year. Next year, we're going to avoid it like the plague. And we did have 2 members of other divisions pop in, which was nice. So a little more travel, people trying for that overall AOI for the state, which is nice. And something magical happened. A couple of you guys saw my bookended Instagram videos that I threw up yesterday. It was raining. So I decided to give, wearing my Nor'easter hoodie, performance hoodie. It was out in the rain. I said, you guys got to try this shit. Look, even rain gear gets wet in a downpour. We never got a full blown downpour yesterday, but it was raining off and on for 8 hours. And I was bone dry in a hoodie. Nor'easter, fucking A. We'll get more into them with the giveaways. But 6:05, I caught my first fish. Now, I want to throw out a history on this place for myself. I've been there before Saturday. I've been there 3 times in my life, even though it's an hour and 10 minutes away. It's a big boat lake and has a recreational base, and I don't go to those or haven't gone to those in the past. Now I'm kind of shifting gears and getting into some of our lakes around here like that. The first 2 times I got out with our main man and patron, the Loaded Potato, in his bass boat. And actually, that was the first time last year, the year prior, where I actually got to be on a boat with forward-facing sonar working. And I was able to see what ended up being a pike chasing around bait balls, and I threw a lure in his general direction, and the pike ended up whacking it. It was a 28 or so inch pike. Great fish. Only fish we caught that day. So 1 fish, 1 trip. The next time I went out with him, we did end up getting a couple of smallmouth, I think a couple of largemouth, incredible number of yellow perch. Whoop-de shit. Third time out was a week and a half ago. Spent 3 hours out there. Nailed a 12-inch smallmouth. So my confidence was not exactly up for this place.
Yeah, not peak level.
Yeah, it was a shit show. I was expecting a full-on shit show. When we got there, Friday night, a front had come through and dropped the temperature 20 degrees. So we didn't see, I don't think we saw 65 on Saturday. The day before was 80 to 85. So I was already expecting, well, this is going to be a finesse drop shot day and my life sucks. But to compound that, my real focus of the day was, and this is the way I approach things as a director. I'm fishing, yes, but directing the tournament's got to take precedence. Nelson and I had to put together a safety plan because we all know, anybody who's fished the Berkshires, pop-up lightning storms are magical, awful creatures that can scare the shit out of you in a heartbeat because everything's fine. And then over the mountain ridge,
it's not.
You're just in lightning. And this is a bigger lake. So we had to put together a safety plan, made sure there was a group text. A few of us had whistles. I told everyone, make sure that we all get off the water if we need to get off the water. It is, go time. Nelson explained the laws that dictate that you can actually go on someone's private property if it's to save your own life with a lightning storm in such cases. And we were ready to rock, but that was my concern. And I had two places I wanted to fish, and a third that I kind of had an eyebrow raised because when I went pre-fishing on that week and a half ago, I caught that smallmouth, yes, but I was in this one weedy area and I got whacked on a crankbait, but I didn't land the fish. And I just kind of stuck in my mind. And I'm like, that was a big hit. That might've been a good pike. Now, when we launched, I had thought to myself, well, this is a lake that really favors, honestly, Scott Rhodes fished with us, and I love Scott. He's a great guy.
Yep.
And he is good with electronics. And he loves that lake. I thought he was a shoo-in. I thought we were all fighting for second. He was Larry Bird at the 86 or the 88 three-point contest. I thought we were done. And Scott was even feeling confident when he went out. And I remember saying to Nelson as we launched, I'm like, all right, it's a crapshoot now, baby. Good luck. And we got out there. I got out. I left the ramp. There was one drop off I wanted to fish real quick, actually, where I pulled that little smallmouth up, and right up on shore in the first 5 minutes, I think it was my second cast, I was using a Ned rigged creature bait, whacked a 17 plus. And that's when I made that first video. So if you guys see me mush mouthing my way through a nor'easter promo, I had gotten 3 hours of sleep and I was happy to catch a fish that could have held on for lunker. And I was very excited with that. So enjoy my Instagram ridiculousness. I then went around the corner, caught a little baby smallmouth, a 12-incher. And then I went like south and it just didn't work for me. Now I will say this. I got around this one point and I saw something on my live scope that I was just mesmerized by, and through like 3 or 4 casts with a jerkbait on, I've never seen anything like this. And I found out later after talking to Jerry, he believes they were juvenile carp. I was thinking trout, but in 30 feet of water around absolutely nothing, there was a school of fish that was in a column, and they were just swimming around each other in circles like a tornado from 20 feet deep to 5 feet down from the surface. I have no explanation for their behavior. It was bizarre. They wouldn't touch a jerkbait, so if they were baby carp, that explains it.
Yeah,
I've just never seen fish swim like that. It almost looked like the New England Aquarium. If for those of you who have not been to the New England Aquarium in Boston, the center of the New England Aquarium is a giant fish tank with sharks and everything. That's the biggest tank they have, and you walk around it in a spiral staircase. And that was really what was going on. And I said, you know what? Fuck this south end. I'm going to go to a point that I like hitting, and I'm going to check out that weed line where I got smoked on the crankbait. I moved north. At the point, I got 2 more keepers, and I think at that point I had another shitty smallmouth. I rounded off my bag. I was like, very good. I've got 5 fish now. I'm happy. While I was at 4 fish, Nelson had caught his 5th. So I was sitting in second place behind Nelson by an inch, but looking at the score, and I said, well, I've only got 4 fish. I get another nibbler. I'm kind of riding high here. That 17-incher was very good to me. Then I hit that weed line around 11 o'clock, and I fished the shit out of it. First, I started with a drop shot. I filled out my bag and called out like 2 or 3 fish. I was amazed that I was doing this. I was the only person sitting in the middle of the lake. Then I kept on that weed line, and something magical happened. The stars aligned. The wind came out of the south and pushed hard right into that weed line. And when I find a vertical structure with wind blowing into it on a day that it's raining and windy and we're after the spawn and it was a new moon, I didn't even realize
it was a new moon. Yeah, that's right.
My strengths are all of those things. And I said, oh my God. After I called out enough fish that I was just shy of 80 inches and really nobody was doing anything else, I said, fuck it, I'm pike fishing. And I put on a chatterbait and I ripped that thing all over that fucking weed bed, all over it. I caught 3 pike, 2 of which were over 24 inches. I missed another one. I had the lunker smallmouth. I'd already gotten the lunker smallmouth, but I had an even bigger upgrade, hit at the boat, go down 2 feet. I was adjusting my drag. I was literally reaching for my drag. He went sky high and threw the fucking chatterbait over my head. And I said, you motherfucker. I only had 3 or 4 feet of line out. You motherfucker. Yeah. So I was having a blast. Now I'm in the wind. It's raining. I'm like giggling to myself, and there are pike biting. So I'm in heaven. And then the second video came up with 4 minutes left. I upped the lunker from 17 3/4 to 18 and a half.
Nice.
With this tournament, and I'll get into the results later, there were 3 lunker pools that we put on the side: a smallmouth lunker, the pike lunker, and a pickerel lunker. I didn't catch any pickerel.
No shit.
Yeah, it all came together where the conditions were perfect to my strengths, and I rolled up. I am very happy that this past 2 weeks came to an end this way, because life's kind of been beating me up the past 2 weeks, both the hospital and some other shit.
Yeah.
This felt really good. And I worked hard on it. Just, it was funny. Like, really, my focus wasn't even on fishing. My focus was on watching this guy.
Yeah.
Calling Nelson. I called Nelson once or twice throughout the day to make sure that he wasn't seeing anything on radar too. And,
yeah,
things we had to do. We were taking care of the folks fishing with us, and then
exactly
shit just rolled my way for once.
It was perfect. So. Yeah. The perfect storm, quite literally.
Yep. An odd thing about the tournament too. So I had a discussion with Ken about this months ago, and Ken hit me with some statistical evidence, and I shut up because I like hearing statistics. So the smallmouth lunker, all right?
Yes.
Is a smallmouth lunker. The automatic lunker of the tournament that we put into, that comes out of the $50 we put in for tournament fees, that's a black bass lunker. So there is a chance that the smallmouth lunker can take both. It is not a designated largemouth lunker. So if if the biggest largemouth caught is 18 and a half, and the biggest smallmouth of the tournament is 19, and that smallmouth lunker is in play, that fish will take both. And I said, well, Ken, I'm fine with that, but how many times has it happened where the smallmouth has taken both pools? And he looked through his records and he said, in the whatever X amount of years, 7 years MAKB's been going, he said twice. I said, that's a lot of tournaments. I like those odds. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
And I shut up.
Yeah.
It
kind of makes it that much more of a special thing, that much more of a unique. Yeah. I
good for you. I was fine with that. I'm like, you know what? If it's 50-50, no, then that needs to be a largemouth lunker and not a smallmouth.
Yeah, exactly.
So when it all came down to it, the lunker smallmouth of the tournament was a 16 something. I had 16 and change.
Yep.
And the lunker largemouth was an 18 and change. I took both. And I was the only person to turn into pike. Although I will say this, lesson learned.
Yep.
We did have a newcomer with us. Brian Barton. Brian's been fishing the Chronic Trips and Jigs and Bigs tournaments, I believe.
Yep.
Brian is getting back into tournament fishing. When I say that, I believe he was a big boat angler, and now he's learning the kayak world. So there's a lot of differences. And right off the bat, right after I caught that first fish, so I'm in a good mood now.
Oh, sure.
It's 6:30, it's 6:20 in the morning, whatever. The group text rings out. And I'm like, what the hell? I hope Nelson's not seeing fucking lightning already. And the group text rings out. And it's Brian saying, I'm an idiot. I left my catch board at home. I got to go back a couple towns over and get it. I called immediately and I said, have you left yet? He said, yes, I'm driving. He said, turn around, come back to the launch. Loaded Potato gave me back my spare. It was in my back seat. I said, get that, use it, give it back to me. Make sure it's tethered. I would like it back because that's my other catch, my spare. So he did that, was able to fish. And as I pulled up to the beach and said, go ahead and open up my doors, unlock my doors from the water because it was that close to the parking lot. He goes, thanks, man. I go, no problem. Fucking new guy, which got a laugh from somebody who was right there, and he got it. We locked everything up. It was all good. But yeah, great day on the water for me. I mean, the bite never really picked up for everybody else. I think, I don't know what happened, but big learning experience for a lot of folks. And I told Nelson 70 inches was going to win it.
Yeah.
And 70 inches was in the money. There were 3 people at 70. I think Jerry had 73. We'll go over this later, but tough tournament, tough day, just experience, man. Like,
it's a grind.
When weeds and wind and waves and rain and a new moon, man, sign me fucking up. That is my favorite shit to fish in. And a lot of people can't get thrown off by the rain. It just, the wind never turned to the east. So even though there was a cold front, it stayed west. So the front didn't fully pass, and those fish were still biting, even with the temperature drop. And I got on them. It was great.
And that's the thing, man. Sometimes it's like it's a formula, your conditions. You know what I mean? And they're all variables, you know, and then there's also that random variable of like, which one of those things is just going to turn those fish off? You know, and which of the other elements might be enough to kind of like keep them fired up, you know? So it's like, you just never know. I had a similar situation, same day, expected nothing and had a great day. Well, I'll get to my shit later though.
Yeah, that's all I got. That's my review. Obviously I'll cover all the results in tournament time. And I mean, we could go into another issue. I think I've spoken enough. We can hold on to this for another day, especially since I know what's coming with FTG. So that's
I'm sure that's gonna spiral. That's gonna spiral. I'm sure. I'm sure.
Karen, why don't you just title this one the Karen episode? Because I'm fucking
I might.
I'm catching up. I'm all fired up. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Whatever. What do you guys do this week? I've had enough.
Joe, you dive into your week.
Yeah. So I got out a couple times fishing.
Nice.
Not gonna talk about my boring dad life, but you know, of work and all that bullshit. But yeah, so I got out a couple times fishing. I actually went out Friday morning. I had Friday off. Brought out a buddy of mine who it's not a big angler. He's a big hunter, not a big angler, to the point where he doesn't even really like own rods or anything. But he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's trying to get back into it. He was in it when he was young. He's trying to get back into it. So I said, don't worry about it. I got spinning rods. Like, just bring yourself.
Yep.
So we did that. We went to Quabog, of course. That was a local place kind of between the both of us. So we went there. Right off the clip, we actually went down towards what they call Pickerel Cove. And we kind of started there. Throwing everything around, just kind of see. I've been really trying to throw that BFS setup to. I've really wanted to try to get like a decent sized fish on that. So I was throwing that a ton. I've been throwing a Nico rig on it. I was throwing a Ned rig on it, but I was getting a lot of smaller fish. So I was like, let me try to throw a Nico rig on, try to get a more quality fish on it. Right off the bat, he's throwing. I hooked him up with a wacky rig. I was like, dude, throw it, let it sink a little bit, twitch it, you'll catch fish. Sure as shit. He probably had
catching fish.
Yeah, he probably had 3 on the boat before I got my first.
Yeah, that's fucking great. Oh, good.
Yeah. You know, they're cookie cutters.
Yeah.
You know, 12, 13, 14. But he loved it. That's all that matters. He was having a blast. So we did that, and we moved to, we caught a few there. I mean, we caught a ton of fish that day. We caught a few there, and I moved up to a spot of mine on there I really like. this is I don't care about I'm like that kind of person. I'll tell everyone my spots where I fish. Like I just don't care.
Yeah.
I know people around here, a million people fish them. This is that one spot I won't tell anybody about. You know, it's a spot where I caught the two at once. It's the, same, same spot.
Keep hush hush about that.
Yep. So I go there. We go there. I was like, dude, we're marking a bunch of crappie, and I could see some big marks within it on the forward facing.
Mm-hmm.
I go, dude, there's always big bass in with these crappie every single time. Let's just throw the hell out of it. I know we'll hook into at least one. So we're throwing. He kept. I actually had him throw a small swim bait to catch a couple crappie. Because he just wanted to catch fish, and I knew he'd catch 1,000 of those cookie cutter crappie in there. So a couple casts in, I hook up with that BFS setup. I hook up to a nice one. I'm like, I was like, this is a good fish. With those BFS reels, he's pull and drag and everything. I was like, all right, this is a good one. We get him in. It was a 3.5. Nice fish.
Nice.
Fought
like hell, I'm sure, on that BFS.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
So fish a little bit more. He's like, that's a giant fish to him. He's like, well, it's a big. I mean, it's a nice fish. I should, but he's like, whoa. He's like, I want to catch one of those. So I was trying like hell to get him. I was like, throw it in that spot. And I was actually throwing in a spot where I didn't want. Like I was giving him all the spots I wanted to throw to.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But a couple of casts later, I hook in again to an even bigger fish.
Yes.
I was like, oh boy. And I was like, this one, I was like, I had to, this is when I was like, I really thought to myself, I'm like, I cannot horse this thing in with this rod, 8-pound fluoro, he's cranking. And that BFS reel is real cool because it has that clicking drag, like a spinning reel, which it's a pretty cool little add to it. But
like a loose.
So after. What's that?
All the loose bait casters have those too. I love them. I love clicking.
Oh, do they? I did not know
really?
That.
I did
not know that.
They have clicking drag and a clicking spool tension. I love them both. I mean, the high end.
No. He's not talking about the knob. He's talking about when it pulls drag.
Oh,
it clicks like a spinning reel. Yeah.
Yep.
It's like
a spinning reel, like a high end spin. It's really. It's cool. So anyway, so we're doing that, and I hook into that one, and I'm fighting it for a little bit, but I know there's a spot that if he dives down and tries to muscle down, he's gonna hang me up, and I'm gonna lose him. So I'm trying to keep him off to the side as much as I can, at the same time trying to keep him down from or her. It ended up being keeping her down from jumping at the same time. Finally get it to a boat. It's just about 5 pounds.
Yes.
It was just under. I didn't weigh it, but this is just kind of me thinking. But female, her tail was all jacked up, all bloodied up. Or she was in recovery from it. But I got that in, and oh my god, was that so fun on that setup?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh man, it was a blast. It was like bringing that big fish on like a trout rod,
Oh yeah,
it's just, it's a little bit different when it's a casting setup. But so we hit those, couple other cookie cutter fish. I was like, all right, man. I was like, I know it's been kind of cold for a while, but we're gonna, or this area has been kind of cold for a while, but we're gonna hit the river. So we hit the river. We go in there. Slow, not I mean, a couple nibbles here and there, and then he's still throwing that wacky. I think I had changed it to a Nico at this point. He was doing that. I can't think of the color right now, but he was throwing a fresh bait. We're both throwing fresh baits, stick baits. I was doing my 3W or 10W30 like I always do, and he had like the June bug colored one. I can't think of the name of it right now. So I just so happen to look back, and I just see his rod tip like,
oh yeah,
and he hooks in, and I could tell right off the bat, I was like, that's a pike. It's a pike.
Oh, okay.
I could tell it right off the bat, and like you could see his face, like,
fuck. Yeah, he knew something was up.
It wasn't a bass. it just tried to dig down right off the get-go. But I was like, all right, keeper. I was like, I'm trying to coach him. He's never hooked up to anything like this. I'm trying to coach him through it, and fucking thing broke him off. Fucker. And you know how the river is. You could actually see a little bit of like the top fin there as he in like the wake from him jetting back into the weeds.
Oh,
man. And I was like, and I just knew, I was like, that was a nice pike.
Yeah.
That was not a small pike. And but he had no chance. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, but he's running fluoro. Like, I was like, probably caught. I was like, dude, it probably just caught on a tooth, and that's it.
What kind of fluoro was he using? What test?
Oh shit! What do I have on those? Oh, I have the basics from Seagar.
Dude.
Okay. What size?
Garbage. It's garbage.
Yeah, it is garbage.
Garbage.
Just to illustrate something and give to God, I hate doing this, but give Bass Pro Shops a little shout out for the shit they're selling. So I switched over just to try it to their 14-pound fluoro, their XPS
XL?
fluoro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Was it the XL?
No, I thought it was XPS. Their XPS.
It's
model.
machine spool too, right?
Might be.
Yes, it is. That's why I switched over to it, right?
Yep.
So I switched over. I was using Seaguar and VizX 15. I switched over to this shit. And this is what I'm running on my chatterbait slash, really swim jig slash, I mean, I'm using it for lipless too on occasion for heavier lipless, but I'm trying to use it more with one hook search lures like chatterbaits and spinnerbaits.
Yeah.
I got a hit on this line, on this fucking lure, and the whatever fish it was completely missed it. And I think it was a pike.
Yeah.
I don't think it hit the fucking lure. I think it hit the line.
Yeah.
Oh, no shit.
And this thing withstood the pike. It was nicked up, but I got my lure back.
Did you retie?
So, did I retie? So Pope shit in the woods.
Okay.
Yeah, I retied, but
good.
That was it. I think I was throwing an A-Bay crankbait around. I didn't really want to part with it.
No,
and
exactly.
The XPS, bravo to that fluorocarbon. That was
Fucking
nice.
A.
I mean, that took a full-on pike hit, and they were 3 out of the 4 pike I saw were over 20 inches. So it wasn't like a little 15-incher that whacked this thing. That was a hard hit. And I said, what the fuck was that? And good on XPS. Sorry for the interlude. Just wanted to
no, it's I'm not happy with that stuff. I've started to switch it out, all of it out, but I haven't switched out at all yet.
That's the red label, right?
No, that's the new one. It's white.
Oh, okay.
Or like a tannish.
Too.
Yeah, it's it's not machine spooled. It's that shit I sent you the picture. It's literally super cheap. And I was like, I'll give it a shot. And I bought a shit ton of it.
Yeah, it's never a good idea.
Spooled it. And I'm like, this shit sucks. Which is upsetting because, their typical stuff, their higher end stuff, or just their normal stuff is great. It's good. It's good stuff. And they just threw this out as a cost cutting. And I get it because fluoro is expensive, but it's garbage. If you get a backlash and it kinks a little bit, it's gonna break.
Forget it. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. That kink's gonna haunt you. But yeah, so he hooked into that thing. I got to see him just like, fuck, dude. Like he was just so upset.
Oh, I believe it, man. It's like an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah. He's like, part of me's okay because I've only like seen pictures. I know what they look like, but I've never like handled one. They look terrifying. So part of me's okay about not catching it.
Exactly.
But
another part of him wants the experience of being like, this thing's a dragon.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, so we did that, and I dropped him off. He had to leave a little earlier than me. Dropped him off, went and fished some more. Nothing to call home about. I continued to use that Nico rig. I was fishing. They seem to be. I was really going for the females. I kind of went a little now because I caught that one in a little bit deeper water. So I was trying to fish, ledges and stuff like that to try to hook into a couple of those big ones. Didn't really. The rest of the day left. That was that day. Went out today. Had a great day today. Went out to Lashaway, local, my local haunt down the street. Started off by myself. It was slow today. It was really slow today.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And I think that, just that rain, that water temperature drop, the air temp drop, I think they just kind of got a little squirrely, a little finessey.
What was the water temps where each of you guys were fishing? Just curious.
Mine was stuck at 66 yesterday.
You were at 66. Okay. What about you, Joe?
I was at 66 today.
Okay. All right.
But
I'm just
here's
curious.
the problem.
Yeah.
It was 72 a couple days ago.
Oh, okay. Okay. It was where I
Yeah.
was fishing on Saturday at 70 degrees, 71 in some spots.
Yep.
I was floored. I was
Makes
like,
sense.
holy
Which
shit,
is
that's
pretty
not what I
normal for this
expected.
time of year.
Yeah.
But
But especially after that rain on Friday. And then, I was surprised to see it up so high.
Yep. Yeah. It finally gotten up there, and I was like pumped, because once that water hits like 74, 75, I have a blast. That's when I really start, looking at just what I like. But
Yep.
yeah. So the temperature went down like 6-7 degrees in the matter of 48 hours. So I was like, I kind of knew once I saw that temp that it was going to be a tough day. And it was. I hooked into today. I fished by myself. Didn't really hook into shit. I hooked a small crappie.
Yep.
Smallie, like a small smallie. Wife and my daughter got up. They're like, "Hey, we're gonna come meet you at the boat ramp." They hopped on.
Nice.
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to fish deep. See if they're deep. There's a hump. There's a hump there that I like to fish the ledge. They tend to move out there. So I'm fishing. I'm like, and I'm marking a bunch of shit on the forward facing. And as Shawn knows, crappie can look. Their signal is very similar to a bass, especially if there's a few of them too. What's up, Shawn? What you got?
I'm getting a lot of credit here for knowing what a live scope does and is, and I heard about it after the tournament. I'm barely using mine. We can get into this discussion before we end this. I was going to leave this alone, but we'll talk about this after your weeks.
Yeah.
What the fuck, right?
Yeah. So I'm marking these signals. I'm like, all right, these could be a bunch of crappie or could be decent sized bass. So I'm fishing. I'm working it. I pick up the Nico again. Because I was running mostly crankbaits and stuff.
Yep.
I throw the Nico in. I get a hit, but it was kind of a wonky hit. So I'm like, all right, I think this is crappie. So I was like, those are big marks. So and I know the size of the crappie that are in this place. The current state record for catch and releases out of Lashaway. So I throw a small, I think it was a 2.8. 6 cents swim bait. I think they're divine swim bait.
Yep.
Throw that, work that a little bit. Bam. 14. I measured it because I actually wanted to measure it for a pin, but it was a 14.25 inch crappie. So state pin.
Nice.
State pin crappie.
Friggin' A.
Nice, dude.
Yeah. So yep. That was my first. So that's gonna be my first crappie pin.
That's awesome.
So I did that. Caught that, did all those photos, tossed it. Found another spot on the ledge that I was like, all right, those are definitely bass. Throw the Nico rig, hook in, lose it. And so it was like, and it was, it was like, at first I thought I let slack because it must have been swimming up towards me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, ooh, I don't think I'm on it anymore. And so it slacked up a little bit, and then it was there. Pulled again, it was gone. So I was pretty upset about that because it was definitely a bass. But other than that, it was super slow. We ended up hitting the 308 restaurant for a couple of cocktails and lunch.
Nice.
In the process, that's what's great about that place. If you're on the lake, you can just put your boat drive right up to the dock.
That's awesome.
Tie off, go have some lunch, sit there. It's a beautiful day out today. Sat there right outside looking over the lake. And it was other than that, unfortunately, the wife didn't catch anything today. I did hook into a smallie. I forgot. I hooked into a smallie, another smaller one. Gave it to Emma. to reel in.
Nice.
Like, come here. Yep. Thing was just like constant up it,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and it ended up spitting the hook and she was pissed. She's like, "Oh, you got to hook another one for me."
Yeah,
I'm
there
like,
you go.
It's not that easy.
I'll do what I can. Jesus. Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, and that was it. Went and enjoyed the rest of the Father's Day with the family. Happy Father's Day
Happy
to all the
Father's
dads
Day,
out
dudes.
there. And yeah, that was my fishing week.
And I've got to make mention of this, Joe. One thing you forgot to tell us all. Tell us all about this fucking extraordinary sunburn you have. I mean, there's fisherman's burn, and then there's this one's fucking brutal. What the fuck were you wearing?
The old Hookset Hoodlum flat brim and some big old sunglasses.
It's more the forehead than
It's the
and then
curvature.
glasses.
It's
the curvature. You look
it's
like
amazing.
Yep.
It looks like you were wearing a facial mask and pulled it off. Like you're like,
yeah. Like the skin peels.
Yeah. Like, fuck.
Yeah. And it's so funny. Meg got fucking fried too.
Oh, really?
And it was crazy because it's, you know, it just, and these are the days that always get you. It's the days you're like, there's a ton of clouds. Like,
exactly.
Those are always the days that get you.
The human body reacts to UV light, you know, in our skins.
Yeah.
And that's what comes through the clouds. So you can get a sunburn on a cloudy day.
Know.
So
Oh, yeah.
I've been in several heated arguments over the years that did not need to be heated because people are always like, it was cloudy. I got wind burn.
Yeah.
Well, the wind was at 5 miles an hour, asshole.
Yeah. You're not getting chapped up because of,
Yeah.
Look at Canada was burning last week and I didn't get wind burn from the fucking flames. If you're not getting wind burn from that shit, there is no wind burn. So it's a sunburn. God damn it.
See,
hey, you know, it's like, you know, the Irish in me is like, I don't go out unless I'm wearing a sun shirt. Like I'm that guy. I actually wear the gloves now, the sun gloves, because I was getting like burns to the point where I was getting blisters on my hand from reeling it. You know, you just get it right here.
Yep.
So I wear those things now. And I always have my hood up for the back of my neck. And like today I was like, it's so nice out. And I didn't do that. And I'm pretty good at applying sunscreen and I didn't do that. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I run into this situation. I try to wear my hood quite often, but what ends up happening on those really hot days, those Torres sunglasses like hug my face.
Yeah.
And I fog up my sunglasses. So then I either have to forego those or ditch the hood and drop them back a little bit to get some. And if there's no wind, it doesn't clear right away. Oh, it's the most obnoxious thing ever.
The best part is, so when Emma's on the boat with us, you know, we allow her to bring her tablet.
Oh yeah.
Especially if it's just me and it's just like a day I have off and she doesn't have school, let her have her tablet. And she actually like, you know, you've seen her. She says she's such a peanut. She actually like gets up under the passenger console and like, you know,
hides
so she's like
sun.
hidden from
she's
the sun.
Good to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So she didn't get touched at all. So yeah. And I'm being asked by about the turkeys too. So new turkeys haven't come in yet. The hatch was minimal. It wasn't as much as they thought. So it's going to be next week. Marcus is thriving. He was out in the yard today with us, just kicking
my
it.
Man, Marcus.
Yeah, he's very attached. Like we went in we had all the birds. I mean, all the new chickens, all the other chickens, all the ducks. They're just everywhere today. And
were they in a row?
All the ducks are in a row. So it's funny. It's so our ducks that we've had, the 3, there's one male and he's a fucking asshole apparently. And then there's all the new ducks and it's like the Bloods and the Crips right now. Trying to
I believe
they just do not they don't get along. Everyone else gets along. But so we just went to like our fire pit area in the backwoods there, our big open area, and like all the other birds doing their thing. Marcus just comes and chills with us. He's just like, listen, you guys kept me alive. I owe you. I owe you a debt.
It's like, these motherfuckers are crazy. You want some dirt on them? I got you.
Yeah. So that's stay tuned for the new batch of turkeys. We'll see how long they last, if they do, whatever.
It's amazing the level of like celebrity that the Joe's Livestock has gotten because of Jigs and Bigs.
Oh, it's so funny.
It's fucking amazing.
It's so
I love
funny.
it. I love it.
Yep.
There might have to be a Farmer Brown t-shirt. But there might have to be a Marcus t-shirt.
Yeah.
Oh
boy.
Yeah. That's awesome though. Pretty decent week, I would say overall.
Yeah, it was. It was a great week. Let's hear about yours, Bobby.
I had a little bit of a week. So I had gone out on what day was it? It was Tuesday. Was the first day I was able to get out with that new Army Green catchboard that I've got. And I'm living my best life with that thing. I got remember, Shawn, the first trifecta? Mm-hmm. I had won a Rogue like gift basket with a bunch of stuff. Yes. I had a leash I wasn't even using. I've got that sucker leashed up because you know what about those nice aluminum catchboards?
They sink.
They sink like a motherfucker. So I'm not about to lose that. So I went out on Tuesday, the day that the show came out, and I like Tuesday's my quality control day. I go out and I do my thing. I go down in this one spot I've been fishing at regularly. And this is just like my favorite go-to. And I was going back out with more of those topwater baits. I'm like, well, we'll see if we can get a topwater bite. They weren't biting any kind of topwater. So I just threw around a big old freaking sticko from Bass Pro, big green pumpkin one. Caught 3 or 4 little nibblers here and there. But then I laid into the first fish and I was like, my thought was I just wanted to get something decent, like something, to throw the first fish to have on there. So I let the first couple of nibblers, and these are like 10, 11-inch bass, like nothing crazy. Then I hooked into one that was like a 16 and a half, and I'm like, oh, now we're getting some slime on this board. So I got a nice picture of that fish. It was pretty awesome. In fact, the trout guys were there, and the trout guys were being what I like to say in my nomenclature as they were being motherfuckers. Is what they were being. They were fishing right off the launch, the same stupid questions all the time. A couple of them parked like complete morons.
38 lines out in the water.
Crazy.
Like across the boat. Right?
Exactly. You would think they were commercial fishermen. You know what I mean? Like that's just how it was. I go over and
they're just raging alcoholics.
I was right across from the ramp where they were working this one little flat where there's pretty good amount of weeds there, but there's a bunch of wood coming in off the bank. I go over and I flip my Senko into this one spot, hook up with this big fish. I grabbed this fish out of the net before I measured it, and I stood up in my kayak holding the fish like I was holding like freaking Simba. You know what I mean? Like it was the Lion King.
You were the king of the world.
I was. And I stood up and I was like, hey, assholes, look at this. Because they're always telling me, I go in there all the time, and they're just like, oh, yeah, they're not biting, good luck, blah, 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 whatever. There's only small fish in here. And then I tell them all the time, I'm like, yeah, I caught a 17 or I caught a 19 over in this one area. Oh, yeah, whatever. And I pull this thing up. They're like, holy shit. I'm like, yeah, fuck you. Yep. It felt nice. So got a little bit of slime on the board. Fished for a little while longer, didn't get too many bites, and then I had to get off the water to go pick up Delaney. So did all that stuff, dropped off the boat, had some lunch, grabbed Delaney, everything was good. Went to trivia, and I don't know, I've posted this before on my Bobby Roast Beef Instagram, that for some reason, when I catch a decent fish, like when I hook into a decent fish, I don't know what it is, but like my trivia night that night is just that much better. Like, it's just, I don't know if I'm going in with like a little spring in my step or what it is, but it's like a decent fish, really anything like, either if I get a really big numbers day or I get a couple of decent size fish, awesome. It totally changes my mood. So Tuesday was awesome. Wednesday, I had done a little bit of recon, a little bit of scouting for a place for some upcoming trips. I'm looking for a couple of areas that are close by, and I'm keeping this on the hush-hush, where I can fish and camp. And I found a spot that was just awesome. That blew me away. It was a little bit of a ride. I know I talked to you on the phone, Shawn, coming back from there, lost all kinds of service and everything. I was out and about this week. It was good. Yep. Thursday, I went out and did some fishing too. This was a little bit different though, because I actually wanted to go back to that spot where I was and pick apart the grass a bit more and throw presentations that would kind of lend themselves to that. And I was like, maybe it's a big worm kind of day or something like that. So what I did was I rigged up a Texas rig that I haven't rigged up in a long time. And my thought was I'm just going to change the plastic and the colors according to what is going on. I think I started, it wasn't even with a big worm. I think it was with an adrenaline craw, actually. Not super heavy of a weight. Like I used a 3/8 tungsten weight, and I used a flipping hook with it. And I just, would just go and drop this at one end and just kind of like weave through the grass and try and hope and get a bite. I got one tap in the grass, and that was it. And really what I was doing was I was kind of trying to figure out how to find fish using my down scan in that grass. Like when I would see something that would mark like that yellow or red in the grass, I'd be like, okay, cool. So we're going to go cast out this way and just drag over. I got one little hit on it. No big deal. I ended up, and actually I was on the phone with you when I hooked up with the only fish I caught that day. And it was just one of these things where I think there was a tap, and then I said, screw it. And I threw a stick bait right over. And as it was coming down, this fish just jumped up, grabbed it, took off. I continued to throw a stick bait over there and got nada. And I think I fished for a total of 6 hours. I was out there for quite some time on Thursday. Came out, I got out of the water, and then was looking at the weather reports, and I knew that something was going on with. Oh, actually, let me back up a little bit. Back to Thursday night, I get a message from the owner of the establishment where I do trivia on Fridays. And there was a last minute change, and there was a private party in there. So my trivia for that Friday night was canceled, which in my mind, I'm like, maybe it's time to go and do some night fishing. I haven't been out since last summer. Maybe this is a good night to do it. And then, of course, my wife chimes in, and she's like, why don't you and I just go for a ride? This is where the brewery talk is going to kick back later. We'll talk about that in segment 3 because we don't have a guest this week. So we'll catch up with some shit in segment 3. So she says, why don't we just go out on Friday, you and I? I said, okay, yeah, that's cool. And I was like, maybe I'll get out on Friday during the day. I did not. I just enjoyed myself. I did some prep. One of the things that had happened, apparently I left my fish finder on Thursday night. And I take that back. I left it on Tuesday night. When I fished on Thursday, I had battery for such a short amount of time. And it just ran out. Probably like the first 2 hours that I was out, I actually had some juice. So shout out to Toyota because in my 4Runner in the back, I have a 110 outlet that I can switch on while I'm driving. And I took my Nocqua charger and I used it on Saturday when I fished. I'll get to Saturday in a moment. So like I said, Friday I was throwing around the idea of fishing. I'm like, I got some other stuff I can do around the house. I'm going to do that. I think Delaney had a half day, and then Holly also had a half day. So they're around kind of early. Holly says, let's just go out and, we'll you and I will just, go for a ride. Maybe we'll grab a coffee or something. I said, cool. We ended up at a brewery spending way more money than I intended on for that night. So we get home, this is when the storm had kind of rolled in on Friday. We got dumped on with some pretty good rain. We finished up our drinks. We came home, watched a movie, called it a night. I got up on Saturday with no intentions of fishing because previously it looked like we were going to have some pretty significant storms and risk of thunderstorms most of the day. And I wanted to go try out a new body of water that was out there in the Berkshires, up in the mountains. I didn't want to fuck around with any of that stuff. So as, I get up in the morning, I have my coffee and make some breakfast and everything. Kids are doing their thing. And I decide it gets to be about like 10:30 and I'm watching the weather and I'm like, you know what? It doesn't seem like the threat is nearly as bad. I'm going to go fishing. So I go and I pop the kayak on. This is when I hooked up the battery and I just charged the battery from the ride at my house all the way up there. So I get up there, I park, I drop the yak in there, and as it would be at this body of water, the wind is blowing straight into the dam. So you leave the launch and immediately the dam is to your left-hand side, and this wind is just nonstop. It's just crazy. I got these guys, these two fucking guys at the ramp. They come over with a bass that they just cleaned. This bass was probably about 15 inches, so I'm going to give them a pass.
All right.
They told me they caught a 2021, and I didn't see it with them, so I'm assuming they released it. Unless they consumed it right there, raw, like sashimi style. I don't know.
Couple of golems.
That's what I'm saying. If they were just like, oh, look, here we go. I don't know. And they're like, you're going to have a hard time with that, man. You don't have a motor. Oh, you're going to get blown around all over the place. I'm like, trust me, guys, I won't. Trust me. Now, was it a bitch? At times, because I made a beeline for one point and I wanted to follow and allow the wind to push me right back over to the ramp. And then I cut across the dam and then I fished into the wind, and it actually happened to die down a little bit. I fished into the wind along the other bank, and I probably worked about half of this reservoir. And with this was like I said, conditions just kind of had me questioning the situation. I knew that we had a front that had come in, and it was cooler today than it was yesterday. I'm like, that's a little bit sketchy. When I launched, we had cloud cover that was wonderful. So that was fishy conditions. That's a good thing. And we had significant wind. So I go, all right, I'm going to cut off this Texas rig and I'm going to throw a spinnerbait. So I tie on a spinnerbait. I start, ripping that around as I'm working down this one bank. I'm not so much as even getting a tap or a follow or anything. So I think to myself, I'm like, maybe that cold front did a little bit more damage. I'm going to continue to search for fish, but get a little bit more subtle and throw a finesse swim bait. 3/16 ounce tungsten head from Reaction Tackle on a 3.8 inch Kai-Tak. And what color was I throwing? I think it was Sungill. That I was throwing. And I throw this out and I'm working it. Now, this bank specifically had an excess of rocks all along the bank. And then there was a bunch of areas with all kinds of wood, plus logs that had just been laying down there. And this had a crazy drop off to like the deepest section where I was like 70 something feet. It was crazy deep. So I go over and I'm just throwing up shallow and working this bait back, and it keeps getting hung up, and I got to go in and grab it, and I'm blowing these spots up. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go back out to the main section of the lake, get away from all this, pedal back up to where I was. I'm going to cut that spinnerbait off, and I'm going to put a swim jig on. Longer swim bait than I would normally think to use on here. I was using a 5-inch, and I got every single bite and follow on that bait. So I'd throw it up shallow, and what I would do is just basically crawl it along the bottom, reel it really slow, and just kind of let it go over all these rocks, and it would get hammered. I got one follow, and I think I was actually just working it too fast. So I got this one follow. And my follow-up bait was a stick bait in a color pattern that matched. It was that test color from Fresh Baits, Joe. That's an unbelievable looking color. It contrasts, and that's what I like about what I was throwing here. I was mixing.
We need to talk to them about actually
it's such a good color.
Yeah,
I don't even know that it's got a name, but
I know.
It looks like it's got zebra stripes on it, and it looks so natural. So I'm throwing that as a backup bait. I go over, after I have that follow, I'm fishing this one other spot, and I was like, all right, so wood and rocks, let's see. Let's kind of focus on that. And I'm working this bank as I'm going down. Again, the wind's just pushing me along, and I throw my swim jig up in there, and it just gets absolutely smoked. And I said, oh, shit, okay. I give it one more cast with the swim jig, nothing. I then back off of it. I grab my other rod with my follow-up bait, this stick bait. I pedal back around to loop around, give it a few minutes to kind of settle, and then I throw this stick bait right in there, smack. And this is the biggest one that I had caught. It was like 14 and a half. I said, okay, a chunky fish too, like real chunky. And I go over and I'm like, okay, so this is great. I'm like, we got a tournament coming up in July, the monthly, plus the 16th, that's coming up, the Mid-Summer Mayhem. I want to be in the practice. So I go, every single fish I catch from here until we get to those tournaments starting, I'm measuring, whatever they are. I just want to keep in the practice primarily for that single day because I want to be able to measure quickly, get good pictures, and then continue fishing. So I release this fish, I go back over. That next little combination of rock and wood that I'm finding, bang, on the swim jig. And a hard hit. It was so nice to set this hook, bring this fish back in. This one came in about 12 3/4. Released that fish, went back over, had another strike. Then at this point, I was back at the ramp. It had blown me all the way back down. I then had decided.
Happy Father's Day.
I was like, I'm not done. I'm going to go and turn around and go follow the dam along the side, and then I'm going to fish that other bank because there's all kinds of rocks and stuff over there. We'll see what happens. First cast over there, I hooked into something big, like bent that medium heavy rod like, and I'm like, holy shit, never saw it. And there was a crazy drop off here to that deep section, like crazy. The bite was super shallow. Water was really dark. And I'm, this fish comes down. I'm trying to work it. Comes right off. I'm like, you son of a bitch. I got another bite a little ways down, caught 3. Went into this one little cove, and I just kind of ran out of time at that point. I was like, I want to get home before 5 o'clock, so let's go ahead and head out now. And I knew that we were expecting some kind of a storm involving lightning, so I don't want to test my my luck too much. So then I went, and it was great because I was pedaling now into the wind and just like constantly pedaling, but fishing this bank that was to my left. I got up to the point where I wanted to go back around, and I turned my kayak around. Wind to my back, was pedaling as gently and gingerly as possible. Dude, I hit 5 miles an hour. It was the fastest I've ever gone in that kayak. It was crazy. I'm like, holy shit. Like, this is wild. I get back to the boat. I talked to a bunch of guys, gave out a bunch of stickers, took off and headed home. This is when I had that conversation with you, Shawn, on the drive back. And I was blown away. I was like, what a crazy day. Like, really, I really expected that cold front rolling in to kind of really put a damper on it. I did not expect to get the bites on such a chunky bait that I was throwing on such like that large of a presentation. It kind of impressed me. So definitely, I left with a good feeling. Brand new body of water, never fished it before, read the water, used my instinct for selecting baits and selecting presentations that would work, and I got it done. It was a very, very good feeling. So I got home, that was it, and then today's just been Father's Day. I decided not to go out today simply because I really expected there to just be an overabundance of people on the water with that obligatory, I'm going to go fishing with my dad. And then, you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want to.
I did see a lot of that today, but there was not a ton of people out. It's just the only ones that were.
It was that crowd.
Like father, son. Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I get it. But like, I can remember when it was shortly after Delaney was born and I kind of had just gotten into fishing. And I remember my wife said, let's go fishing with your dad. It'll be so much fun. And I have like a toddler. I have a kinder. If I had a toddler, she was in grade school at this point, Chloe. And then I had Holly, who has no idea or interest in fishing. And all I was literally doing was just untying snags and, fixing their what do you call it? Their line twist and all that stuff. It was ridiculous. I think I put a lure in the water for like maybe 15 seconds. And then it got to a point where I was like, I'm just going to reel this up and sit here. And I think I actually went fishing that same day afterwards and got on some fish, which was nice. But yeah, if you don't like fishing, don't go fishing with your dad, guys. Don't. If you don't like it, if you don't, let him go. Maybe meet him for breakfast at Mrs. Mitchell's.
There you go.
Afterwards.
That's a plan.
You know what I mean? That's a good way to do it. Yeah. I'll go out fishing at like 4:30 in the morning. You guys meet me at 10:30 and everybody will be happy. Yeah.
I
think that's the way to do it. Before we go to break, how was your Father's Day, guys?
Phenomenal. I mean, I got to go on the water.
Yeah.
Spent the time with my wife and daughter.
Yeah.
And that's all I could have asked for.
Pretty good day. How about yours, Shawn?
I did some. I woke up nice and late. I did sleep in after my fishing adventure yesterday. Made sure I got a full 9.5, 10 hours of sleep, whatever the fuck it was.
Nice.
Woke up and started helping someone with a resume. Then went to my parents' house where my parents needed a new phone set up for the house. They actually still have a phone in their house, not just cell phone. And God, just going through the house, my parents have the new place and my dad is just hell bent, I think, on inadvertently burning the place down through electrical means. every outlet in the house.
Typical dad thing.
No, it's not typical. This is like the dad from A Christmas Story with the fucking tree.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Billion, and they're not surge protectors.
No.
They're just taps.
Yeah.
I said, Dad, they're not going to protect anything. Like if you run too many of these, number one, they could cause an electrical fire from the power they're drawing. Number two, like if the house gets hit by lightning, the lightning's going to go to the grounding rod underneath the house, but to get there, it's going to fry fucking everything on the way down. You're going to have to buy a new TV. You're going to have to buy this, blah, blah, blah. He's staring at me blankly.
Yeah.
And I go, Dad, I'm throwing these out. You're not like, and then I started walking around and he's just staring at me and I'm fucking not
unplugging
even like,
everything.
Yeah. Not even the multi-taps, but like the bricks you plug in, when you've got two outlets and you've got those 6-way bricks, they're everywhere. I'm just fucking gone. My mom's looking at me. She goes, what's wrong? I go, make sure he doesn't plug those back in. Get rid of them. It's just shit everywhere. So I'm like, okay, I'm coming over this week. He did have one actual surge protector that was really nice. It's got 2 primaries that are always on and then a number of switched ones.
Yep.
Like this one was given to you by your utility company. You can use this. Like, I'm cool with this. I'll be back for these fucking other ones. And we're going to go to Home Depot. We're going to go to Walmart or Home Depot and get something that has a rating on it. Like I did find one of his taps that it was actually some sort of a surge protector. I mean, usually the newer ones, you can see the number of joules it protects against.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
this one had at least a voltage protection on it. So I left that one alone. I'm like, I don't fucking know. But then I had to rewire all of the modem and the router, all that stuff. So whatever asshole came in and did their wiring, my mom's like, no, he just left it that way. I go, Mom, this is a fucking like an eagle's nest.
Yeah.
Like whoever came in here did not do their job.
Do you feel how it's warmer over by this collection of wires?
No. I mean, just, like the Cat 5 and shit like that is all wrapped around the phone wire. That's not generating heat, but it was a fucking mess. I'm like, Mom, this person came in and didn't give a shit.
Yeah. They knew that you didn't give a shit.
Exactly. Or didn't know. They took advantage of you. And she's like, well, she walks away. I'm like, look, do you have a bag of like the bread twist ties so I can wrap these wires up and they're not a fucking mess and you can see what's going on here and if need to change one out or whatever? She said yes. So I did all that. And then, couldn't eat anything because of the goddamn beans, which I don't know if I went into that, which I think I did, right? The bean label. Yep. So couldn't eat anything. And then I came home.
Fuck.
That was my, and then started recording. So that was my Father's Day. I did manage to slip in an episode of Trailer Park Boys. I'm now on season 10. I'm catching up, folks. During my childbearing years, my child rearing years, I was unable to catch the Trailer Park Boys. I'm now a huge fan, and man, did I miss that! I missed that fucking boat.
I think I'm gonna have to give that a rewatch too. I've only really dove into like the first season, and
it's rudimentary. It's like the first season of The Office. They haven't hit their stride and figured things out yet.
Exactly.
There's some pieces there.
Speaking of The Office. On July 13th, I'm doing a trivia theme night at one of my establishments where I host. It's where we do the monthlies. It's at Gateway City Arts. It's going to be the Office theme. Rounds 1 and 3, general knowledge. Points for dressing up like characters or wearing Office swag. Canna Provisions is one of the sponsors. And the music round is going to be music songs that were used in the series. So Mambo Number 5 is going to be one of those songs because it was Michael's ringtone.
Gotcha.
It'll be fun and stupid. No, I bring up Father's Day today because one, it's Father's Day, but also I did something this year that I have never done. I recently set up, once we got my youngest daughter a cell phone, I created a group text for the whole family. So, and I did this for the sole purpose of me just being a sarcastic asshole to my family and being like, oh, hey, is anybody going to take out the fucking dogs? Or, whatever, shit like that. You know what I mean? It's one central thing. And I'm sure it's been silenced and whatever. I got to tell you guys, I did something in that group text. I dropped an Amazon link for a cooler that I was going to buy. I was like, wait a minute, Father's Day is coming. Here you go, family. If you're just considering a Father's Day gift, that motherfucker showed up on Saturday. It was a beautiful,
Nice.
beautiful thing. Yeah. Yeah, and like I talked to my dad and my sister today, and they're like, "Oh, so did you get like a Yeti or something crazy, you know, to go out on all your adventures in the outdoors and all this stuff?" And I'm like, "No, I actually got a smaller cooler for like almost everyday kind of use. It's by Igloo. It was cheaper.
It matches my truck.
But
So bougie.
It'll do the job, you know what I mean? And it's a small 25-quart Igloo, you know, that I can, and when I'm doing like longer trips, now I can reserve that big chest cooler for food exclusively, where it stays closed most of the time, and all the beverages will go in the 25-quarter. That'll be open and shut nonstop because, you know, can't stop, won't stop, baby. This first segment is an hour and 35 minutes long.
And Bobby,
Yeah.
we have one last thing to cover through my notes, and it's on you. It's all right. We've had a lot of shit. I'm actually going to move the live scope discussion. I'm gonna rework just a tip. I had one going, but I'm gonna use that.
Going to rework the tip a little bit.
We did not talk about the number of listens we're about to hit.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that, you know, episode 170 is kind of exploding. We've never seen that much growth that as far as amount of total listens across all platforms. So it's kind of blowing my mind a little bit that we're at, you know, where we are already. I'm impressed. We hit a new peak overall with just recently. It was on the 12th, June 12th. We hit a pretty big peak with listens on that day. But we are. How many? So we're currently at total plays for the entire library. We're at 89,507, which is fucking amazing, in my opinion. But that number's interesting because now it's been adding like another 500 or 600 almost every single week. And we're on course to be hitting another goal that was a lofty goal that I had set in my mind of having 100,000 plays. 100K is happening, which is fucking nuts. Now, that is great, but there's been a little discovery that I think is going to warrant some special attention. And that discovery is the Jigs and Bigs Facebook page. We have over 27,000 follows on our Facebook page, which I can't fucking believe that. Now I've been counting likes and stuff and folks that like our page, obviously that's great. But the follow count are just individuals who just want to follow that stream. And it is amazing. It is truly amazing. So I think we need to do maybe some Facebook live streams here and there, maybe a Facebook giveaway exclusive to the Facebook page, something like that. I'm sure we can scrap something together from some of the amazing partners that we've got worked up and our friends, and we could put some kind of a Facebook giveaway together. But that number blew my mind. Like, it was really kind of like earth shattering because, you know,
Facebook was a sleeper cell and all
the whole time. And it was one of those things where, you know, I've been kind of doing the same thing with Facebook almost identically that I'm doing with Instagram. Like, I didn't want to pay attention to one platform versus another. But the fact that like you guys are following over there and I can post shit and you engage so unbelievably, man. Fucking A. So I'm a little fucking verklempt, to be perfectly honest. I'm kind of amazed.
Rightfully so. When you showed us that, we were both like, "Where the fuck did that come from?"
Yeah.
Same thing with you. We just you basically reposted from Instagram to Facebook, or posted at the same time, because you can do both with those platforms. And next thing you know,
and there is, I will say, I have thrown a couple of things in there that are a little bit different. Like if I found it on Facebook, like that post from the Wachusett Reservoir group, like if I find it on Facebook, I'll drop it over there and share it, because it's, you know, at that point I'm sharing other content and things like that. But like that post got so much unbelievable engagement from all types of people, folks that have their heads screwed on straight and
complete assholes.
But
yes, sir.
Hey, it's engagement, and I'll take it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bobby, one question. So with the number of listens,
Yep.
those are individual listens, or what is the term? Not individual, but those aren't
Unique
like
listens.
unique. Thank
Yeah.
you. You and I aren't going on there and telling Joe, sit down in your room and do nothing but click play for fucking 15 hours while you're at work.
These
or
are
whatever.
unique listens.
These are unique listens.
Yep.
So that is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm fairly certain that number is representative across all platforms. If it's not, and it's just giving me like Spotify, for instance, Apple Podcasts is still our biggest like platform as far as listeners go by a good amount, by like about 20%. So it's sizable,
Right.
but freaking bananas.
Bobby,
Awesome.
we got one last thing I totally forgot about. This will be quick, but it's exciting, and we want to make sure that
Yes. I know where you're going.
everybody
with
who's
this.
listening is aware of what we. However, I reached out and got the sponsors to contribute products for our tournament every month. Right now, we'll see one again in July. We'll be doing this all over again. We'll be doing the pulling for Chronic Trips next this in a couple weeks when that ends. But next year we have some news. We're not going to really break yet, but you're going to see a lot more of this. So we're going to do our drawing real quick for the giveaways.
Sweet.
For the May Jigs and Bigs tournament of this year. We were going to do it last week. Obviously, I have all the information loaded up, and I was sitting in a fucking emergency room while Bobby, Joe, and Ellie were kicking some ass. Thank you guys again.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and do this drawing. Do we have any funny music to start this drawing off?
Any
on?
funny music?
I don't know. What do you got? Let's fucking spice it up here.
I mean, I got really the only kind of funny stuff that I have is Billy the Doctor.
Well, what do you have a certain sound effect? Maybe snoring?
Oh, yeah, I got I got that, yeah.
So begins the Jigs and Bigs May giveaway. There we go. All right, first gift up. I think we're doing this somewhat alphabetically. I'm not. I'm going to do them all alphabetically except for one. We actually had a new sponsor come on late.
Yep.
I did not have time to adjust the A rules or B the graphics for last month's tournament. They came on so late, but they did want to make sure that they're included starting last month and then going through. Graphics will be adjusted as necessary. So, first off, we've got A-Bay. This is for a custom lure.
Mm-hmm.
The winner of this will be getting contacted by Chris or Christina from A-Bay. So a lot of these prizes, I should mention this before we start. A lot of these prizes I have in hand. If I do, I will get them to you. I still have a couple of prizes from last Chronic Trips because of a lot of bullshit that's gone on. The award winners are waiting, and I still have them. We'll be in touch. Now, first one, A-Bay Lure prize pack, going to. Where is the Jigs and Bigs May 23? All right, let's do it. Spinner. Going to Bobby. You want me to hold this up or no?
It's up to you. Yeah.
Fuck no, I'm spinning it. I'm being honest about this. Vidal.
Congrats,
Vidal. There we go.
Oh, look at that, Vidal. Nice.
Woo.
All right. Jigs and Bigs. We are providing a wonderful set of a pair of Torres glasses, right?
Yes.
Torres glasses winner will be. Come on, spin. Does it have noise? Oh, this thing doesn't have fucking noise, huh? Thought it had some sound effects.
Some sounds.
Joe Horgos. Joe, my man. I will be in touch. We'll get you those glasses.
Nice, Joe. Congratulations.
Joe gets a sound effect.
Yeah. He does.
That's for Joe.
That's what happens when you put on Taurus sunglasses. You're so amazed at how clearly you can see into the water. You're just like,
And then you have to change your pants, or maybe you got the pens on, whatever.
Maybe you're into it.
Yeah. Next up, this one's a little special. So if you're out of area, if you're not in the region we're in and a phone call needs to be made, I will describe to you what we have. Maybe there'll be some pictures going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Thayer did such an awesome thing. He donated a box of lures for this tournament. I told him, hey, man, if you want to make one custom one for everybody, he said, how about I do this? And gave us basically your choice of three Klondike lures that are in a box at my house. I will send pictures, show you what I have, and we'll go from there.
Yep.
There are a limited number of hard baits. So you have your choice of 3. I don't care what you take. I would recommend maybe taking a hard bait first because Matt put a couple. I love Matt's lures, but man, his hard baits are next fucking level with what he does with his woodworking. So for the Klondike 3 lure pack, the winner is Ryan Stager. That's great. I'll see Ryan. I'll be fishing with him tomorrow.
Nice.
I'll bring the box. Ryan gets a sound effect too.
Yeah, he definitely does.
Maybe we stop at the clapping and that's our.
Maybe that's what we do. You know what? It's happening, Shawn. Now it's a thing. Now it's happening.
Yes. So we have up next a pack from Nockwell, which I believe is a power bank and some accessories. Usually it comes with a gooseneck lamp and a gooseneck light, USB light. What else did they put in there? A couple stickers. And there was one other thing that they were putting in there. I forget. Either way, whatever. We'll get in touch with Nockwell for you. So winner of that, because I forgot to hit the spin button when I was fucking talking and rattling bullshit
details.
Winner of the Nockwell prize pack, Kevin Dowie.
Nice job, Kevin. Congratulations.
Kevin, I'll be getting your information. I might even have it, and we'll get that mailed out to you. That'll be coming straight from Nockwell. Up next, this is a good one. All right, So look, I'm a tournament director, and I don't know if I mentioned this. I actually take my name out of these things when I participate because, like, I develop relationships with these companies so that they can get some exposure with our tournaments, and I don't ever ask for a ton. Man, I really wanted this one because I love this product. And hell, I did a little fucking advertisement for it on my Instagram page.
True.
Out of nowhere, out of the blue in the rain. This is for a $50 Nor'easter gift card plus a hat. Now, last month's winner from Chronic Trips, Jay Savely, I was supposed to hook up with him this week. Did not happen. Jay, I still got yours. I did not forget about you. Okay. So, winner of the Nor'easter gift card and hat, which again, very jealous, you bastards.
Very nice.
Rick Obrus. Nice job, Rick.
Nice job, Rick.
Yep, I see Rick for MAKB. He's a Western Division member.
Perfect.
Rick's a great guy. I'll be seeing him. All right, next up, I have these in hand. You will have to let me know if you want a bait caster or a spinning model. This is for a Sarah P's Saxon Sleeves rod sleeve.
Rod sack.
God damn it. And as I just mentioned, a name that just came out of my mouth, Jay Savely.
Jay
Got yourself a
Savely.
sleeve.
This is fucking so ridiculous. I love it.
And, you know what? That sound effect. Do we talk about that at all on the show? About it, what it is, and what we thought it was?
We didn't talk about it on the show.
Well, let's take a pause here. We got 2 more to do. Let's take a pause. I thought that was recorded. Somebody pulled audio from a porno movie. I really did. And you were like, that snoring thing? And I'm like, snoring thing? What are you talking about? I'm talking about the orgasm. He goes, and you're like, no. Somebody recorded their relative snoring. Is that the story?
I don't know if it's somebody that recorded it or if it's just a parody of like dad snoring. Like,
It's great. I thought it was from a porn, but either way, it works. Let's keep using it. Makes me laugh every time. All right. Up next, we have a Wrangling Baits lure pack. I will be seeing Derek next weekend. I'm definitely getting him the information for whoever wins beforehand. The winner, Wrangling Baits pack, Zach Eckberg.
nice job, Zach.
Okay. They make CPAPs for that, Zach.
They do, Zach. So stupid.
Or ball gags, depending on where that noise is from.
It's true. It's true.
All right. Finally, I'm going to hold this one up. I actually went downstairs. I had to make sure we had them or what the number was that we were given.
Yes.
Huge shout out to our boys out in Central Mass at Fresh Baits. All right.
The freshest.
You've heard, exactly. Everybody has heard us talk about the Hellamites.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's heard Nate talk about the Hellamites and the Scorpions.
Yep.
We just talked about their stick baits.
Yeah.
They're local. We love them. They're great guys and they make a great product. So we were given for the rest of the year, we were given these wonderful Fresh Baits sample packs. I believe they have 4 or 1, 2, 3. How many did I get? They made me a separate pack. Mine didn't look like this. I don't know if they gave me exactly this, but it feels like I'd say at least 4. That is non-binding because I'm not opening this on somebody. It feels like at least 4 packs. The Hellamites all come in a plastic pack, right? Like a bubble pack.
No.
They come in a regular pack.
They come in plastic.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, not the Hellamites, the Scorpions. The Scorpions are all in the bubble packs, right?
Yeah, the Scorpions are in a clamshell.
I can tell you right now, I don't know what's in here, but they're not Scorpions, all right? Because I can't feel that rigid bubble shit. So, for the fresh baits, thank you guys again for jumping in on this.
Awesome.
It was a little late, but they're good to go. And we get along with these guys great. Winner is Brian Tonello.
Nice job.
All right.
I love raffles. I love raffles.
Yeah, they're good
I love it.
Thanks, everybody, for the patience on this. We appreciate everyone kind of standing by while I went through with my shit.
Congratulations.
I didn't hear one complaint or from anybody about where's my fucking raffle, where's my giveaways.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. We're doing this every month until the end of the season. And then next year, again, we're holding some stuff back, but we got something special in mind for you guys. And
maybe we will keep some fun raffle shit going on. I think what we might do is do like if listeners want to enter, they can purchase raffle tickets and we'll put together like a rando prize. If I'm not mistaken, I believe I am in the possession of a beer can or soda can bandolier.
We do have a bunch of shit, don't we?
We do. We have some random shit, but I mean, especially in the off season, I wouldn't mind going and hitting up rando stores and we put together some kind of a little swag bag of sorts of random stuff and people can enter a drawing,
I still have a bunch of stuff from the store, guys.
Yeah.
Sitting in my garage.
This is true.
All right. We'll slap some shit together. We can autograph some stuff. I don't know why anybody want our autographs. I'll draw a dick on stuff. That seems to be popular.
You'd be amazed what people want autographed. I actually signed somebody's fucking Bobby roast beef hoodie at trivia. This is real. Somebody, they bought it for their teammate for a birthday, and they're like, no, Bobby, you got to sign it. So they brought in those nice silver paint pens, and I was like, I wonder if I can do as good a job drawing a penis as Shawn could. And the answer is no.
There's few who can. It's all good.
What is this? What did you try and draw? I'm like, ignore it. It's fine. Ignore it.
It's flaccid.
It was nervous.
It was nervous. Yes. Oh my God. All right. You want to take a break? I'm fucking exhausted.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be back, guys, with segment number 2. Segment number 2, we got just the tip for you. We got a great bait of the week discussion I'm very excited about. We got an FTG that's going to get some folks fired up. Listeners and hosts together. And Jigheads, we have a handful of you guys in here. You're not going to want to miss our FTG. You will not at all. We'll be back, guys, in a bit. Don't go too far. Much more Jigs and Bigs coming up right after this. Hey guys, Bobby Roast Beef here from Jigs and Bigs. If there's one thing I can't stand spending money on, it's on something that's not versatile, something that I can't get a lot of use out of. I want to talk to you about Frost Buddy. What Frost Buddy is it's one of those can coolers. I've seen these before. In fact, I have some that are limited to only fitting one specific size of can, like a standard 12-ounce can. I stumbled onto Frost Buddy, and I was blown away with it. So versatile. Fits standard cans, tall cans, slim cans, and even 12-ounce bottles. And the magic is the insert fits all of these items in various stages within the insert. And when you take that out, you can fit a full 16-ounce tall boy can. In fact, it even doubles down on being versatile with the coffee lid. And on my recent trip to Chickamauga, I had a field day with this thing. I was throwing beer cans in it. I'd have coffee in the morning. On the drive, I was throwing in all different sizes of cans for different canned coffee products to keep me awake on the long drive back. The thing was amazing. So I recommend you check out Frost Buddy. If you're in the market for either a travel cup for your coffee or a can cooler at all, either one of those, check it out. For the money, you cannot go wrong. What I've done is this. In the show notes for this podcast you're listening to right now, if you look there, you'll find a link to Frost Buddy. where you can get yours. And not only can you go and get your Frost Buddy there, but you can help out the show as well. Go and visit that link in the show notes to this podcast. Check out a Frost Buddy. Tons of colors, tons of patterns, all kinds of great stuff. And it's a great spot to put your Jigs and Big sticker too. Take it from me, Bobby Roast Beef. You're going to get the most versatility out of this one product, probably out of anything you're ever going to buy, especially for anything that you're drinking. Frost Buddy. It works for me. I'm a happy guy. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form content. For all your premium kayak needs, we partner with Three Bells Outfitters, located along Smith Cove in Niantic, Connecticut. Three Bells is your go-to location for kayaks and accessories from Hobie, Native, Bonafide, Jackson, Yakutak, Naqua, Boondocks, Burley Pro, and many more. Financing options are available to upgrade you and your kayak fishing experience. White glove delivery service is also available. Visit threebellsoutfitters.com for more info, and don't forget to tell them that Jigs and Bigs sent you. When it comes to high-quality polarized sunglasses, we've partnered with Torres. They provide stylish sunglasses in a variety of frames that are light and fit comfortably on your face. The polarization cuts glare and allows you to see the whole picture, helping you identify what's below the water's surface. They have a 60-day, risk-free trial, lifetime warranty, and free shipping. Plus, you can save yourself 10% with the code JIGSandBigs10 at checkout. Visit Torrege.com to check out their selection. That's www.torege.com. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Thanks.
Bobby and Shawn now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
Oh, that was just the tip. All right, I was gonna reiterate a tip, Bobby. I think we used it last year or the year before. It was the year before. It was during COVID.
Yeah,
that I used this tip because I remember getting my shot and gave this tip. We're just going to touch on it real quickly because something else took priority while we were talking.
Oh, yeah.
If you're in a tournament and you're in for 8 hours, don't fucking give up after 5.5, 3 hours, 2 hours. Fish the 8 hours.
Yeah, you owe it to yourself.
You got it. You paid for it. Fish it. You might learn something. Even if you're well out of it, set yourself a goal. Hey, I'm going to catch one more bass before this tournament ends. Hey, I'm going to cull out one bass. I'm going to do something with this, right? You've got the time, the pressure's on. You know you're going to lose if that's the case, then learn something, get something out of it. I'm going to do this. You know what? I've been on this fucking pile of rocks or this weed bed all day, and all I've caught is nibblers. I'm going to go experiment with deep water. Try to learn, try to expand your boundaries, and try to see if you can do something. If you're in if you're in the mix for finishing in the money or with a lunker or whatever, then, try to secure your lead as much as possible because there's people out there, a lot of the guys we fish with, man, they will look like they're having a rough day. And then that last hour, something clicks.
Yep.
And you're in a race all of a sudden. I have seen Nelson do that numerous times. I've seen Ken Wood do it numerous times. It gets scary. It's like flipping a light switch and all you see is them climbing the standings and they're not sandbagging because I know those guys don't do that. But boom, 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 and it's the last hour because they don't give up. I did do a quick Instagram reel on Saturday with that. I caught the lunker bass with 4 minutes left. That was nice. It was there was 14. It's $140 fish.
That's
in 4 minutes
great, man.
because I didn't give up. And I was pike fishing for a $60 fish. So I made $200. So I didn't give up and just kept hammering down and shifted gears, read the water, and kept going.
Yep.
That was going to be my tip. My tip is now for me as well as everybody else. Learn to use your electronics.
Yeah.
Learn to use your electronics to their fullest. I am now, 3 months into owning a forward-facing sonar. And when we all, as anglers, talk about forward-facing sonar as non-owners, we think it's magic. And it really is for the people that know how to use it. and know how to use it well. I'm here to tell you, I am using it in a kayak with no trolling motor and no spot lock. I am at the mercy of Mother Nature. I cannot stay still. I cannot do what a lot of kayak anglers do. And really, from what I've heard, have two screens to meld the capabilities of a forward-facing sonar, but using it in a downward manner with your side scan to see the structure and then come back around and really pick it apart on top of it with the cone.
Yep.
With the forward-facing sonar. I can't do that. I can't sit still in a kayak long enough to do that. I'm not anchoring. I don't have an anchor.
Yeah.
So the myth of just you have fucking forward-facing sonar, you can see and do everything is exactly that.
Cop-out.
It is a myth.
Yeah.
Again, I stared at fucking trout or carp doing a cyclone for 5 minutes, threw a jerkbait at him and said, this is worthless. And then I went into a place where I was comfortable in the weeds with deeper water. I didn't see a single fucking fish after 9 o'clock, or it was 9:30 when I left those carp, 9 or 10, maybe 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock when I left those carp or trout or whatever the fuck they were. I did not see a single fish that I was trying to catch after that point, after 10 o'clock. And after 10 o'clock is when I caught all but one of my keepers. The one keeper I found in the morning, he was to my left, and my forward facing was exactly that. It was facing forward. I didn't see that fish. And it was up against the shore. I wouldn't have seen it anyways. There was rocks and shit.
Yeah.
Unless he was swimming in the middle of nothing. I didn't see his fin at the surface. I wouldn't have seen that fish.
Yeah.
But I wasn't looking for him. I have my side scan on. I keep it going. I like being able to turn it and see some shit. It brings me more information in front of me instead of behind me.
Exactly.
But the typical thing that I'm doing is not, or the stereotypical live scope video game fishing where you can see your lure on the retrieve and a fish come hit it, video game fishing. I am unable to do that because I don't have spot lock.
Yeah.
My lure, remember we talked when I first got it, I said, wow, it was neat. I saw my lure for a second and then it went out of the cone. I think I've seen a lure on screen since I've owned this live scope maybe 10 times.
Yeah.
I have to learn how to use this. So I bring this up because when you win a tournament, sometimes there's, it might be in jest, it might not. Sometimes somebody might make a comment.
Yep.
And I heard live scoper more than once.
Yeah.
And that kind of like says that, oh, I'm not fishing. I'm not a good fisherman.
Yeah.
I'm relying on this thing to win. And I could tell you right off the bat, I have not seen a fish take a lure on my live scope. And I don't think it's possible to with my setup.
No, I agree. When we talked about this earlier, the first thing I said was, I don't think you're ever going to be able to do that setup unless the conditions are so where it is so still that you can park yourself on a spot.
Exactly.
Like it would be so dependent on the wind and the current, to keep you in that spot that the likelihood of that ever actually being a factor big enough to make a difference is minimal. And I get it. Like it's, what it is about front facing sonar is it's an easy thing to pick on and say, oh, well, that's why you won. You know what I mean?
I'm buying wins.
You're buying a win because you're using this technology, obviously. And the thing is, and I mean, from the get-go, and you can go back and listen, I've been saying this from the beginning, that this is technology. This is the way the world works. There's always technological improvements. But the problem is, just because you have this thing, if you don't know what to do with that thing, it does nothing for you. You know what I mean? It's just, and there is a learning curve.
Yeah. And with the way I'm using it, now this thing is expensive and I always have it on forward facing, but I'll tell you this.
Yep.
I didn't use it to catch fish directly.
Yeah.
But I did use it to keep myself on a weed line because you can see where the weeds are coming and going. And there was a depth factor involved where if I was shallower than one depth and deeper than another, I wasn't finding fish. So that combined with the weeds, I can see structure and I can see the weeds. Hell, you can really see weeds in that thing. But if the fish aren't in the sparse weeds, I couldn't see anything.
Yeah, when it's too
Couldn't
thick,
see
there's nothing.
Yeah, it was bad. So yeah, I used it to stay on this one weed line I was fishing because the wind was pushing me all over it. But I didn't see a single pike. I didn't see a single bass. I did see balls of bait every now and again.
You see balls all the time.
I was the pecker checker at the fucking base for years. I get that. Yeah, sometimes you get a job and you got to do it. But the stereotypical way that this technology is thought of being used, it's not.
So Patrick he says he goes, Live Scope, what do you have to say for yourself? And I think it's Live Scope, what do you have to say for yourself?
Live Scope inferior. Weed superior.
I agree. Weed is superior.
Weed is definitely superior.
Weed works every fucking time. Live Scope doesn't.
All the time. Never 60% of the time, it works every single time. All the time, right?
Yes.
So I'll dabble into this a little bit. So obviously I have the spot lock and whatnot.
Yeah.
And big misconception people have is that lives, like you said, it's just like you buy in tournaments. But anything under 6 feet, Live Scope's garbage. Anything it's. If there's weeds, if you can't see fish in the weeds, depending on what type of bottom there is, if you have a fish sitting right on the bottom, let's say a deep bed or something like that, you'll see a mark that could be a fish, but it could be a rock. It could be this, could be that. It's not as like, yes, there are people out there like, pros, Ben Milliken, all them that have just spent so much time on them. They're just so dialed in, and it is an absolute necessity and tool for them. Like I'm like Shawn, I'm still learning it. I'm still figuring it out. I'm getting there. I've learned to, because even with spot lock, if you don't have yourself positioned correctly, you're never keeping the same picture because you're fucking. Your head's constantly rotating on your trolling motor. So, you have to put yourself downwind. You have to, it's where waves aren't shifting and, things like that.
Let me ask you a question, Joe. What setting do you have your transducer on? Do you have it set for forward facing? Do you have it set for down, or do you have it set for perspective?
Forward facing.
Okay. Yeah. I'm the same way. And I know there's guys out there that say, well, perspective is the way to go, but then you can kind of bypass the benefits of perspective mode if you run it in down or forward and have side.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That really requires a second monitor unless you feel like going back and forth between the two. So like
I strictly use mine for forward. I will occasionally use it. I will use it for down. Typically when the fish are deep, like real deep, and I'm drop shotting, I'm like straight down drop shotting, or if I'm vertical fishing.
Do you have to physically change the transducer positions? Do you have to go to your trolling motor or wherever it's mounted and do that? Okay. Yeah. So that's the same. All right. I didn't know that about big boats. I didn't know if there was a way like it automatically did it or some shit.
Same thing.
So yeah.
And like for me with the perspective mode, like I have mine calibrated to know what direction with the boat and shit like that.
Yeah.
If you put yours in perspective mode, it takes that, it kills that calibration, and you'd have to recalibrate, which means I got to fucking turn the main motor on, put the trolling motor down, do a 3 or a 540 with the boat. And so I don't even touch perspective. If I'm worried about a perspective mode, I'll just get the Humminbird 360.
There you go.
Yeah.
I am a novice at this. I will say this. I'll tell everyone what I've learned about this so far. It gives you the real-time ability to see what's in front of you in that cone.
Yeah.
Which is nice because, like I described, one of the first times I used it, when I saw fish that were near the surface, and as I got closer, they went to the bottom. That right there tells me throw something near the surface rather than a bottom lure, because had I just gone over them with traditional, I only would have seen them on the bottom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's big for me. And then being able to see how the structure or the cover is actually set up in front of me versus like, oh shit, I've gone into the weeds where I wanted to stay on the edge. Where does the edge go? And then I have to figure that whole fucking thing out. Maybe if I have a map, mark it on that and try to follow that line if I can. This makes it a lot easier. Now I know which way to drift, especially in cloudy days where the visibility sucks.
Yep.
Water's a little dirty. I know, like we've said this before on this show, and it's no secret. One of my strengths, I feel, whether it's weeds, whether it's docks, dock legs, whether it's dams, I love and have an absolute strength for fishing vertical structure. I really feel that. Like I am like fearless with the shit. I love doing it. I have a lot of success doing it.
Yeah. And
one of those vertical structures is a giant wall of weeds at a depth change in a lake. Doesn't matter what part of the lake it's on. And that bore out yesterday.
Yeah.
I see that and my fucking my mouth waters because I know what I can do with that shit. And if the wind picks up, it's over. Yeah. I'm going to be putting up some fish. And if I can maintain my position on that with a live scope while I am just trucking along at 2 miles an hour with the wind, that's huge. All I have to do is adjust a rudder and I'm still in it. I'm now able to fish more of that wall of weeds without getting sucked inside of the wall.
Exactly.
And then having to kick back out and fuck my whole path up. That's where it's valuable for me. But
yeah, like
the stereotypical live scope thing, like I've seen guys in tournaments do, and they win them in deep water. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. Now I'm curious, like this, we had this conversation on Saturday and, obviously, like, I'm sure there are plenty of people that are winning tournaments or placing in the money with live scope. How many people that aren't placing in the money are running live scope?
See, here's the thing.
I'm just curious. Like, is it a split? Like where?
Well, what tournament? It depends on. I mean, there's so many factors, and then
that's another part too. Like, it makes me wonder on that body of water where let's say you're fishing a body of water like that's built like Nashawanek is, where it's just flats of weeds in just various areas, and there's. You really have the majority of it is so much vegetation. Once you get to a specific climate, and they can take off.
Well, let me tell you right now for Saturday, right? Just with our group, first place had it. First place was me. Second place had it. Third did not. Fourth did not. Fifth did. Sixth did not. Seventh did, and seventh did. Eighth did not. Ninth did not. 10th did not. And 11th did not. And that was the 11 people that put up fish.
Yep.
And then there were three folks that skunked. One of the three did not. I don't know about one, and I think the other one did. The other one did.
Yeah.
So it was spread out, but yeah, there are more live scope at the top, but the question is that because of live scope or because of fishing
that's
skill?
the thing. It's so hard to say. I don't think you can. I don't think there's a piece of technology that's going to make up for experience. I think that's ultimately what it gets down to. Like you can learn something, and grow with it and have it bring you somewhere else. But I think ultimately it's the experience, and maybe it's that experience with that specific tool. Like, I just don't understand. Like, I've seen listeners of the show, folks that we've had on, like, as guests, like, losing their shit on Instagram about forward-facing sonar. And I'm just like, who hurt you?
Who hurt you?
You know what I mean? It's like, really? Is this, maybe competitive angling isn't for you,
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a lot to learn. Like I said, I'm explaining how I'm using this shit. And I do keep it on because I like seeing what's in front of me.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. It's something different, but I've seen guys in tournaments using this stuff in deep water where they're spending most of their time staring at their screen and not casting.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is the way I learned to read a lake, both with structure and with the bite, is if the conditions are right, now it wasn't the other day and I started with finesse, but if the conditions are right, I'm throwing search lures, and I still was. I mean, I was throwing basically a finesse jig, a Ned rig, without looking towards the shore with my live scope. My boat was painted. My boat was parallel with the shore. The live scope was pointed forward. I was looking ahead of me because there was a point ahead of me, so I was seeing it.
Yep.
But the fish I caught was at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I was not looking.
So you
at
weren't
that fish.
looking in the direction of that fish whatsoever.
I could have turned it.
Yeah.
I do that when I'm drifting. I'll turn it, and it's nice to see what's in front of you every now and again. But I am not staying glued on that.
No,
I'm focusing on, just like everyone else, objects on the shore, and I'm looking at. I really focus a lot on depths and drops, like a lot, because guess what that is? It's a type of vertical structure.
Yeah,
that's what I do.
When you had pointed out, you're like, the way that some of these folks are using it, tooling around, and they're using side scan to find, to basically quickly kind of cover that water visually. And then they're going back over it with forward facing to find if there's something that they think that there are fish on a rock pile, something like that, a log on the bottom. If they see that on their side scan, then they flip back around and then use forward facing to see it. I can see where that could eliminate the use of needing to throw a lure to cover water. It's just it's just a different practice.
There is some touchy shit I could talk about within the tournament realms. And you and I have talked about right for the air because it's going to lead down a path. But if you're covering 60 feet out each side on side scan,
sometimes
you got 120 feet. You're just, how many passes would that have to take for you to get that information if you're just using traditional sonar?
Yeah.
20 passes. How big is that cone? 3 feet tops? I mean, it's nothing.
Depending on the depth, you can go wider than that.
I know it's crazy. And you can cover all that and see a stick and see a rock, and you would have gone right over it and never even seen it, and then turn right around. So guys, I've seen guys just sit down, put their trolling motor on, make a straight line, and scan while they're pre-fishing. And they're not even pre-fishing. They're scanning the bottom.
They're just, exactly. And they'll drop a waypoint, here's this, here's this, here's this. Now, is that necessarily, it is fundamentally different than throwing, a lipless crank and just like zipping it to cover the water or whatever. You know what I mean? It's a different practice entirely. But like if you're pre-fishing, right? Isn't that almost kind of like looking at a more current version of looking at a map?
Yeah, it's exactly. It's putting in the time to do that. There's nothing. I'm not complaining about. There's nothing wrong with it. But I'm just saying, I don't. I barely use my side scan at all. Nelson yells at me for it all the time. He's like,
dude, I just started and I love it. I have a screen now where I've got one half of my screen is on a 7-inch screen. This is fucking tiny, but I have a 7-inch screen with one half of it being the traditional sonar. Then I have the other half is stacked. I've got down scan and side scan. Then I've got one that is just down scan and side scan side by side. And then if I see something, I'll switch to that panel and just look at just that.
When you're talking down, are you talking the clear view?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, now I don't know if that's Lowrance's brand name for it, but same idea.
I like using that Garmin Clearview. That seems to, if I'm running traditional with that Clearview, it's awesome. But like I said, I've been using sonar for 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. And last year was the first time 2 years ago when we first got together with Three Bells, that was the first time I had the Clearview, anything other than traditional sonar. So after 2 years, I felt comfortable using regular sonar in the Clearview. And then now I had downscan. I don't think I used it.
Yeah.
And now I have downscan on this one. And, Nelson's kind of explained he's really good with his side scan.
I should take a day. I should take a day and go out with Nelson and just fuck around and learn some electronics.
He is knowledgeable about that side scan. And
I've been watching a lot of videos and stuff, but it is very, very, very helpful. It is.
Yeah, it's another tool, but this Just the Tip segment has gone on for a while. The bottom line is, and we have to do it too, learn your electronics, because the guys who are winning tournaments, they might be used. Well, I'm talking the big tournaments. Yeah. They're using it. I mean, like I said, I won the other day, but you know, I'm very erratic this year. We had a tournament I won where I really my fish came out of timber and I didn't bother. Same thing, just had forward facing on. I'm like, hey, what's over here? And I'm not fucking really doing anything about it. And then because that was the only cover available on the lake. It was a no-brainer. I'm like, well, the weeds aren't up. I'm going to throw it timber because there it was.
Exactly.
And then the next tournament, I was in 2 feet of water the entire day. I had my traditional. I actually had my entire transducer arm for my live scope was in the boat with me because it was so weedy. It was an anchor.
Yeah.
So I was in that fishing, and guess what? I couldn't catch a fucking fish because for whatever reason, in those conditions, I could not set a hook, and it was driving me insane. And then this tournament, I had it on. I saw my fucking cyclone of carp.
Yep.
And said, well, fuck that. I don't need to deal with this. Went north and went to a place where I couldn't use it in the weeds.
Yeah, exactly.
But I did use it house. I did use it outside the weed bed to mark the weed bed in front of me and fucking just follow it along.
Yeah, exactly.
That helped.
For
but
sure.
It didn't help me. Yeah, it didn't help me catch fish. Like I did not see a fish take a lure on my live scope, and I have not to this point. And seeing my lure is impossible. So honestly, too, you know what's a bitch? When I store that thing in my kayak to transport it.
Oh, yeah.
I have to adjust the transducer every time because it moves.
Yeah.
It's miserable.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, look, like I said, is it helping me? I think so, but not to whatever extent.
Not to the degree that you're winning tournaments because of it, for sure.
And honestly, I was in the same boat until I got it. And now I realize what kind of a learning curve there is. So,
yeah.
Like I said, somebody wants to watch I'll fucking show them my side, my forward facing. Here you go. Fucking do what you want with it. I mean, I spent a lot of money on this shit and it's helping me in this way.
Yeah.
But that's not going to help you or whoever's looking at it.
Yeah, just because you buy it, it's not a golden ticket to all of a sudden it's improving your fishing abilities. It's truthfully not. Like there's you got to know what the fuck you're doing. And like I mean, Joe had mentioned Milliken. Like he said it, I don't even know how many times in his videos where he's just like, yeah, he's like, this is great. I think he refers to it as panties. He calls it because it's panoptics. So he's like, yeah. So we're using panties. And he goes, there are, there's such a learning curve that you really have to commit to learning what it is that you're looking at and how to use it in order for it to be as effective as folks just think it is.
Just to put a
little bow on it.
I guess an exclamation point on this.
Yep.
I listened to Ken Wood and John Ferreira talk about this one day on the breakdown.
Yep.
And the argument was the effectiveness in weeds and shallow water. And Ken said almost exactly what I'm saying. Like it was good for finding pockets in weeds that you would not have seen.
Yeah.
And trying to drop something in there. But these guys, both Ken and John, both have trolling motors. I know John has spot lock. I don't know if Ken does, but Ken excels in weeds and in cover. And he was saying, I'm using it to see the contour of the weed line, which is exactly what I did the other day. And John's like, no, it's not. They were having an argument. They weren't really reading each other out on this, but I saw both their sides and I see what Ken's saying. Yeah, you're not using it to pull fish out, but man, if you're seeing that structure a little bit, that helps.
Yeah, because it tips you off where you're like, I'm wasting my time right now. I need to be out another 10 feet.
Yeah, if you're looking, if the fish are hitting in a certain depth like they were for me the other day. But either way, that was just a tip. Learn your fucking electronics, folks. And like Bobby, you just said, you got to commit to it. And I have not yet committed.
Are you guys ready to get angry as fuck?
Oh, God, this is going to be me again, huh?
Oh, this one here is going to fucking piss some people off for sure. And I'm just going to go ahead and let this go. This comes after that Memorial Day outing that the three of us had together on the Connecticut River and the Oxbow for that tournament for Berkshire Bass. Out of that, like, we had a conversation, and this came out of this conversation probably about a week later. I'm just going to go ahead and play it. We'll see. We'll have a conversation after this. Give me 40 seconds.
I got a new FTG of the week for you guys. Shawn, the Karen fisherman. I don't know why he seems to think big boat tournaments lead to dead fish, but I've been doing them for a few years now, and I've only killed one smallmouth bass. He tends to think, as he said in the Memorial Day episode, most of them die. Well, that's the farthest thing from the truth. And honestly, his bass pizzas do more damage than I'll ever do fishing a boat tournament. Bobby, I love you. Joe, I love you. And Shawn, even though you're a Karen, I love you. And Nickelback slays. Thank you.
Well, that last sentence just devoid his whole argument, but
It really
we'll look
did.
over
It
that.
really did. My God.
Bobby, if you don't mind, I actually think you had a great take on this whole thing.
Yeah.
You want to go first? And
What was this the take about, like, when he said, I've been fishing tournaments for a few years and I've only killed one smallmouth? Or was it, I forget what the take that it was.
Oh, yeah, it was just.
Who was this that sent this in again?
This is Tony.
Tony.
I think from Fresh Baits.
Thanks. Thanks for supporting our tournaments, Tony. We have a difference of opinion, but we all still love each
It's
other.
all
We can
good.
talk this
He
out.
said he loves us.
I know he did, but he called me a Karen. He called
Fucking
you a Karen.
Nickelback slays.
Yeah, well, you know what? Maybe we should all examine our friendship with that Nickelback comment. Oof. Nah, just kidding. Tony, we love you, and we'll talk this through without making anything personal. My whole point of that statement on the tournament, I don't think that all bass die from big boat tournaments, but they get stressed way more than CPR tournaments. And there's not a doubt of that. I mean, I've done a little process improvement work myself. If I want to set this up and show the differences between a big boat tournament that has, we're not even calling it a big boat tournament, a non-CPR tournament,
A live well tournament. Yeah.
a live well tournament and a CPR tournament. Number one, the biggest damning thing in a live well tournament is you have a penalty for dead bass.
That should say something.
Why don't CPR tournaments have that? CPR tournaments, you can't turn dead fish in. That's based on finding a dead fish and taking a picture of it that you didn't catch.
Yeah.
CPR fish are generally taken care of and in and out of possession, usually 5 minutes?
Less than sometimes, most times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that stress of being put in a small box, whether the water or chemicals are right, right, exclamation point, quotation marks, that's not there in CPR tournaments. It's not. Now, I thought about this, and with some of the major, live well tournaments going towards CPR, whether it's weight or length, that's up to them. I know we've talked enough about weight. My take on scales, and honestly, and Joe's going to get fired under the bus here a little bit. The inaccuracy in general of scales. Now, I'm okay if everybody's using the same scale for a weigh-in because
it's the same scale.
Yeah, exactly. They're all subject to the inaccuracies of the scale, but it seems sometimes that live well tournaments might have something to do with the scales reading a little heavier than they are because I've put some fish in for lunker that just with my experience, I know are not anywhere near that weight, but it looks better. Everyone knows that 5 pound magical number. I caught a 5 pounder. You talk to anybody. I caught a 5 pounder. Oh yeah, really? How long was it? 14 inches. Go fuck yourself. That's cute. That's cute. 5 pounds, huh? And I just don't know what.
Go fuck yourself, Shawn.
Thanks. I don't know what the benefit. I don't know what the benefit is at this point. It's 2023. You can take a picture of yourself holding a fish right when the CPR is processed done. Like those 2 videos I shot with a 17 3/4 largemouth in my hand and an 18 1/2 in my hand. Guess where they were? In the water, breathing with my thumb in their mouth. They were fine.
Yeah.
I pulled them up and said, here's my fish. And they went away. And one of them, I said, there he goes. There's a lunker. Goodbye. So took the picture, put the fish out in the water in my hand, fumbled with my phone, less than 10 seconds, got my camera up. Hi, this is Shawn the fisherman. I'm shooting a video. You don't know this, but there's a fish in my left hand breathing comfortably in his home environment. And he's going away now after I take a picture. Hey, here he is. Bye. That's it. What is the purpose now of live well tournaments other than marketing for the group that's running it? What is the point of bringing these fish back in? And by the way, our Memorial Day tournament, I found out something.
Yep.
Where the winner went to get that bag
Yep.
is a section of the river that I like fishing because of those fish that size.
Yeah.
That those fish now are going to spend the rest of the summer getting back to that place, and I can't catch them.
If they do, because
if they even do, yeah, exactly.
There is what I forget what they call it. If it's delayed, it's a delayed death of a fish where you stress a fish out enough, you release it, it swims away, and that's the marker that most anglers put for that fish is alive and well. And however long of a period of time that dead fish makes its way to the surface or sits at the bottom and is dinner for a turtle or whatever it might be, there is that factor of stressing out a fish to a certain point, and then they may very well just swim off, but they did not survive. Yeah, well, and there are also arguments that will say that where they've been tracked, they'll tag fish and they'll track them to see where they go. It's not all or nothing. That's what I'm saying. Like there's a range in there. How much were these how much stress were these fish put under? How much? What was the temperature that day?
Yeah.
Was it near the spawn?
Yeah, and that winning bag, I believe, was 18 pounds. Am I right on that?
Yep. Yeah, something like that.
So that's by 5 fish, that's 4 pound average.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, again, I have my feelings about scales, but so those are now 5 4 pound fish that were in an area of the river, X amount of miles north.
Yeah.
That if I want to get in there, and fish it, those fish have been relocated. And I'm giving the guy the benefit, or I'm giving the benefit of the doubt that they're going to survive.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
They probably will. Okay, well, let's say that I don't know. They're going to survive. They're going to die. They're fine. They went back into the water.
Yep.
But they're now, I think it was 15 miles south, right?
Oh, where he was, that's longer than that.
That's my spot there that's difficult to get into.
Yep.
And he had that jet boat and he was able to get into it and where no other bass boats could. And that's why I like that spot. It's pretty secluded. But those fish have been relocated, providing, and they're going to live, but they're now all somewhere else.
Now,
why? What the fuck is that about?
Let's also just throw out there that time of year, we're finding fish that were on beds.
Yeah.
Now, that fish has been relocated. How far away from its nest where it's got, let's say these are post-spawn fish and it was just guarding that bed. That entire batch of fry is now at risk.
Yeah. Oh, they're dead. I mean, we talked about that when we prepped this a little bit, I never got that report. I've mentioned it a couple times. I saw that report done by, I believe it was a college where they had 3 ponds, a control pond, a CPR pond, and a live well pond. And the live well pond, which had, people that were collecting fish for live wells, the larger fish that year, if they were taken off their nest, just didn't breed.
Yeah.
So when I know Tony brought up the bass pizza thing that I'm doing more damage. Well, if you're taking larger fish off a bed, you're now losing an entire year's genetics. Whereas that 14 or 12 incher that I'm taking, we don't know what that's going to be. That might be a stunt. That might be that fish might have already reached its full growing size, its capacity, or it might get up to 20 inches. We don't know.
Yeah.
What we do know is if you've got a 20 incher, a 4 pound, 5 pound fish, and you take it off its bed and relocate it so you can get a picture in front of a wall with somebody's logo on it.
Yep.
That fish is now not breeding for the year. So if 2 of those fish with those genetics reach adulthood, well, you know what? Now, instead of having those 2 fish to catch, now you've got a couple of 12 to 14 inchers because the little ones that no one wanted kept breeding that year.
There are other ways too. Like when it comes to the weigh-in, I get it. Like the idea of having a weigh-in that's like a gathering where it's like, oh, look, it's a dick measuring contest for lack of a better word. Basically
really
is what it is. But you could have a leaderboard with the results after everything is judged. With CPR. I don't know. Nobody thinks about this, but like every time you submit a fish through, like, there's no reason why I couldn't take some of the best catches from the Jigs and Bigs tournaments, take those pictures and just do a holy shit, look at some of these fish, display, with whatever company's graphics that I want. Now, that's the other thing too. Like you're saying with somebody's logo or something, what's going to get more direct impact for somebody who's sponsoring an event or something? Putting that logo in front of the competitors who were just there, right? Most of which did not place in the money and are probably, fuck this, these guys fucking cheated. You know what I mean? Or having that same video of, hey, congratulations, such and such on social media.
Yeah.
That will probably do better for that. You know what I mean? I get it. Like CPR isn't fucking traditional or sexy. And the other thing I want to talk about too is a lot of people get hung up on the weight versus length. Here's the thing. To my knowledge, fish don't shrink this way. They get thinner. You know what I mean? They don't get shorter. So if you're just for your record keeping, length is imperative, because if you're catching quality fish and you're measuring them based on weight and you catch pre-spawn fish that are just absolute tanks, and then you're catching fish that are pretty much the same length post-spawn or later in the year when they're kind of skinny, you know, it doesn't look good for your records. And it's not a correct record because now you have to put an asterisk as to what time of year it was and why that fish was so fat. You know the way I think of that too is like so you catch a fish that's, let's say 4 pounds, but it's only 18 inches long. Yep.
It literally, you just
obese.
caught it after it sucked down 2 bluegills.
Yep.
Right. What skill did you impart to catch that fish that you did so that you knew it just ate 2 bluegills versus a fucking older, smarter fish that did not just eat 2 bluegills, that is 3 inches longer than that fish. It's 21 inches, but it may be just spawned out, or it's feeding up. It might not be skinny, but it's just not. It didn't just eat 2 fucking bluegills, right?
Yeah.
There's no difference. You've caught a smaller fish.
Yeah.
Even though it weighs more, you've caught a smaller, dumber fish. Smaller fish are dumber. We catch more smaller fish than bigger fish. They're easier to catch.
Longer.
I don't know anyone who says, yeah, man, I go out every time and I catch nothing but 5-pounders. Every once in a while, a 12-incher will slip in. It's a pyramid. There's more 12-inchers than there are 20-inchers. There's more 1-pounders than there are 5-pounders. I don't get it. But
yeah,
my whole point was with that statement was the times are changing, and this practice with the gaining popularity of CPR, especially from the higher levels, whether it's weight or length, that's your business. It's going to change things, and people are not going to be doing this anymore. At some point, I don't know if it's going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but it's going to be gone. You know?
I'm curious, Joe. I know, Joe, you're sitting waiting to say something.
I can't argue the stress factor of the fish. I can't argue that. Obviously, they're going to be more stressed out in a live well than they are going to be in their natural habitat. I can't argue that.
Yeah.
What I can't, I'm not even gonna. It's not even an argument. It's just. I think it's just more of like preference. It's more of like how I was initiated into the sport, how I've been doing it since I was a kid. Yes, I prefer weight. Why? I don't know. That's just what I prefer. I think
it feels sexier to say, "Hey, I caught a fucking 6," and not have it be 6 inches.
Sure.
Versus when I tell guys that when I'm out, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I caught a 19 3/4 there," and they're just like, "Pounder?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I caught a fucking 19-pound bass."
Like even when I started doing the tournaments with you guys a couple of years ago, like the first length ones, I was like, oh, length. I was like, oh, that's fucking weird, but okay. I have no issue with it. I mean, I had to take a length I still have my catch board for the tournaments. Yeah. I have, my quick board on my boat because fishing a tournament still have to be 12 inches or over. So I have that there for a quick measurement. So I do it, it's just, I guess I've just been, the way I've been raised into the sport has always been weight based.
Yeah.
And if it changed over to length for some reason, I'd be like, oh fuck, that sucks. Like I really like the weight, but it is what it is type deal. With the tournaments, how do I want to phrase it? Okay, so the one thing I can say is like, yes, it's like with the whole fish dying thing, I feel like I don't have that issue like some may. I mean, I'm lucky enough with my boat. That thing's got so many different types of aeration and all oxygen and all this shit to where I feel confident that they're not going to have recirculation. It constantly recirculates the water out, so it stays the temperature of the lake, whatever. So I don't think I'm going to have a dead fish because of that. The stress, I can't argue that. If I'm doing 70 miles an hour down the lake with 5 fish in the thing bouncing around, that's not good. I can't argue that. They're like, no, man, they're fine.
And, I mean, I know temperature comes to play. So like doing that, having those fish in your live well in a typical New England summer.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, but you get to other parts of the country and that temperature, it gets bad. And there are dudes out there that will not run the live well to circulate the water. And they're basically poaching those fish, not poaching them, illegally harvesting them. They're poaching them cooking technique. And I thought about the term that I was talking about. They call it delayed mortality. Is what it is. That delayed mortality has been proven, to what degree?
I don't know the science behind the movement of bass. I know a little bit of science because I do a little research. Obviously, as if you're trying to become a fisherman or tournament fisherman, you need to. When it comes to that, one thing we have around here is we don't. I think for our area, that's a very exigent circumstance because typically we don't have places around here where you have to travel 15 miles to get back to a spot.
Generally.
Rivers.
And that's the exigent circumstance. It's like if I'm doing a tournament on Quabog actually Quabog's got the river, but I don't typically fish it. But even like Lashaway or any other of these ponds or lakes around here, obviously there's a way higher possibility that they're going to get back to there because they probably move that distance anyway.
Yeah,
that river, that instance that we're talking about, I get it.
Yeah,
that fish is probably not going to make it back there. Hopefully it does. I mean, and again, I don't know the science behind it. Maybe they're just like, oh, fuck it. Looks like I'm just going to, start shop around here now. This is my life now. This is my new digs, my new house. But I don't know. I get the it's just the kind of the way the big boat sport is. You have MLF who do the weigh and release. I think that is a good avenue to go. I just don't think that people who put on tournaments around here are ready for it yet. Do they need to be? Sure. I would be a big proponent of that. But the problem is the trust and obviously you're not going to have an official in you.
That's exactly it. Really, in order to do it the way that they do it, you need personnel. So let's say you've got 25 boats. You need 25 individual people that are prepared to spend their Saturdays sitting on that boat, weighing these fish and verifying it. Because what the good thing is then you can then balance all the scales at weighing and say, oh, hang on, there's a 5-pound weight and you were coming at, 5 1/4. So now we have to do the math and deduct everything based on that.
Yep. I guess, I really got nothing. I'm not going to argue something that is a great point. And I think it is. I think a lot of those are valuable points. I still obviously do those big boat tournaments. I am bringing fish constantly, to the thing. One thing I do see, and I think I've mentioned it on the show before, and it fucking pisses me off to no end. People will be pre-fishing or just out fishing.
Yeah.
And they will put fish in their live well just to see what their best 5 were for the day.
Which is amazing.
I think that's fucking bonker.
It makes no sense to do that. There's no need. It's funny because after this last Saturday, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to start actually just tracking all the fish that I catch every day. And that way I know what my bag was in inches. You know what I mean? And what's great about that for my records is because I've got the length and again, fish don't get shorter when they get lighter. Right. You know, the grow season does change. Like somebody once said, like fish scales are like a tree. Like you can see the growth, the periods of when the feeding, where it's happening and where it's not, where it gets, you know, the scales will tell you all of that information. So it's a nice, solid measurement. That fish is so long because it's so old. It grew that much. Or again, I'm catching all these numbers because there's so many of them in this body of water. You're 100% right. Like if you're pre-fishing, why do you want to fill a bag?
I feel like I kind of sound stupid with this whole thing because, you know, it's a tough argument to make. But here's what as a big boat tournament fisherman, here's what I will say. 100% catch, photo, release is better for the fish. No doubt. It is better for the fish than me sticking it in my fucking live well, doing 70 and hitting hitting a fucking jump with Bobby roast beef.
Almost taking out freaking jet skiers. That's an FTG model.
So I think the sport in the big boat world at the lower end will get there. It just needs to be figured out. And I hope they do, because in the end, I am a conservationist.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put fish in or any animal in a position that they shouldn't or don't need to be in. But for the time being, I'm going to keep doing what I do. You know, that's why I ensure that, you know, my live wells are set to go. I weigh them in, I get them fucking back out there as soon as I can. And no, I don't bring them out to where they came from. But I will say there has been instances on the professional field where they have caught 8-9 pounders, especially like breeding fish. And I thought this was a really cool thing. And those anglers will hurry up and weigh in. They'll skip any type of interviews. They'll hurry up back to the boat and they'll bring that fish back to the spot that they caught it. I've seen that, but Shawn, you're not wrong. Yeah. Am I going to change it? Not now.
I don't think that's the thing. I don't think that it's the tournament anglers that need to hear this. I think it's the directors.
It's the directors. So when Joe, there's three things I want to hit real quick, and then we got to wrap. I think because we can go on. This FTG turned into a lecture.
This turned into a hot topic. Yeah,
this could be a whole episode.
When you guys mentioned, doing the MLF style where it's weigh, get the picture, release, right? You don't need 25 judges if you use a ruler, because if you have a laser etched catch ruler and everybody has one, we know those things can't be bent, can't be cut up, can't any of that shit. Everyone's got the standard.
I can't disagree with that. I can't.
It's easy.
100% right.
Again, I'm not saying that weighing them is bad.
Yeah.
I think weighing them is inconsistent.
Yeah.
I worked calibrating scales. I saw what these fucking things can do. It's horribly inconsistent.
Yeah.
Horribly.
But here's a great way to look at it. Kayak fishing, big boat fishing. It's the same sport out of a different type of boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Why do we measure them differently?
Because of the necessity, because kayaks don't have a live well.
Sure.
I think genuinely, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you could.
No, I'm not even talking. I'm not talking live well. I'm talking like the MLF style.
Oh, as far as doing them weight.
Like what? Like
I think it's
the same concept.
Personally, I think it's that inconsistency.
Yeah,
I do. I think it's that inconsistency of the scale, because what's to say that I'm not going to measure a fish and then put a 1 pound weight on a clamp on that fish's tail?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think that's. I do believe the sport is going to go. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll see it in our lifetime. Maybe we won't. Just like Shawn said, it could be 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I do think, whether it's big boat, small boat, whatever, I do think we will eventually see everyone going to a measuring board.
Yeah.
rather than a scale. But you know, all we could do is sit back and wait.
Patrick makes a good comment here. He says, my idea, digital scales that link to phones. They come in a set that a director has that charge together and can be assigned to each angler. I've seen these. Like these are, and I don't think that they're targeted toward tournament anglers. I believe it's an app that you run on your phone and it's got a scale and it gets that measurement. But what is to say I'm hanging a fish on that scale and not a turtle?
Yeah.
That's my thing. If that's the only data,
or just fucking pulling down,
or
yeah,
you've got a fish stuffed with a turtle.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or
that's
just a
believe me,
5 ounce weight.
I understand how sexy it is to say, I got a bag of 5 pounders all day today. You know, I finally hit a double digit. I'm a big fish guy. That's what I want to catch. In my lifetime, want to catch a double digit bass. However, the only reason why I need that number is for a freaking replica. That's the only reason. Like, other than the fact that, yes, it's sexy to say I got this giant fish, it weighed this much. But, you know, it's just like, I mean, from a tournament standpoint, I think that eventually we're going to see things make a change. And, you know, maybe it's going to be with young directors, you know, like Spence, maybe making a change with what he's got going on. Like, hey, we're going to go CPR, catch, photo, release. You know, the technology's there. By the way, I just updated my Fishing Chaos, my camera settings. 3 check marks. We're good to go.
Yeah, but see, again,
my camera roll was not working properly. I went and I made an adjustment.
If I can do a catch, photo, release tournament with a fucking ice fishing derby, anyone can do it.
That's what I'm saying, Joe. Damn.
I mean, obviously there's generational differences.
Yeah.
A lot of big boat anglers, live well anglers are still older and they're not going to do it. God damn it. But
and there is also, like, you look at the old school tournaments where they would just take those fish and just nail them to a board. Yep. And they were not releasing them at all. I get it. Like, you know, you guys are making strides. Chrissy Fishing chimes in, and this will be the last comment that I throw in here, but she goes, I just wish the U.S. would switch to the metric system. A 50 centimeter fish sounds so much better than a 2.5 kilogram fish. And no one would care that it's 5 pounds because America hates math.
She's right. I'm absolutely for the metric. It makes more sense. It's base 10. We use base 10 for everything else.
Pretty much.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not length? What the fuck?
You know what I really think we should start doing for weight, though?
What?
I really think we should take a nod because I mean we love the UK. I think we should start measuring in stones. Yeah. This was exactly 1/36th stone. This bass. It was huge.
Fuck me.
That's fuck me. Mine was only like, yeah. I think that would be amazing.
So is like 10 pebbles equal to a stone? What's the fucking going currency rate here? What the fuck?
Patrick goes, build in a downward camera that takes a picture when the weight is locked in. That's a great idea. That's actually a fantastic idea.
Patrick's dying on this hill about the fucking weight.
He is.
Patrick, it's cool.
He's got a graph pad and he's like making mock-ups and shit. And he's like, we can do this. I'm going to 3D print a prototype and we're going to go to town with it.
The good thing, and that's the final thing I'm going to say about this whole thing.
Yep.
For the time being, when it comes to MLF and even like boat manufacturers with live wells and stuff, at least they're trying.
Yeah, I mean, they are. They could be doing nothing.
Yep.
You know, I get that. I give that level of credit for sure.
Yeah, and you know what the other thing is too with that live well anglers are really missing out on with this CPR. You get more time on the water.
You do.
You don't have to race back
right
to get it to a weigh-in because you've already submitted your fish. I don't know. I think when I keep going over this in my head, like
here's another thing. When you guys thought go ahead. Sorry.
There's not like the benefits to keeping fish and bringing them to a weigh-in are, I don't know what they are. Like I like to say like, oh, they get outweighed. There are none. Tell me a benefit of bringing a fish to a weigh-in. I don't get it. I mean, not you, Joe, but you know what I'm saying? Like you're on the right track. We trust you. But like the CPR method, it's quick, it's easy. You're doing what everyone claims to do and saying, well, we support the fisheries and we're conserving. If you're killing the entire spawn of one massive fish, or like, you know, outside of the realm of this, the dick bag with the fucking energy drink in the thing's mouth.
Yeah.
Are you really doing good for the sport versus take a picture? I got my measurement. I'm in the tournament. Fire it back in. That thing's back on its nest. You can watch them swim back to their fucking nest.
Yeah.
You know, I watched One-Eyed Willie at Champlain swim back to his nest.
And then you caught him
the next
again.
day.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like,
you know, it's fine, but
yeah,
I don't know. So sorry to Tony. I know we all don't see eye to eye on this. I don't get it. It's at this point, it's becoming a relic of the past in front of us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So
fair enough.
The one last thing I want to add before you add your exclamation point is there was, and I have gotten this through a reputable source.
Yep.
There is a little bit of conjecture in there. I'm going to state that beforehand, but there was a kayak angler of high repute that was out on a body of water in Massachusetts that was fishing unknown to him. There was a live well tournament. I'm being very careful about it because it was not a big boat tournament. It was a live well tournament. So there were makeshift live wells involved.
Oh, I fucking hate that.
With big boats. All right. It was the qualification for this tournament was live well.
Yeah.
Not big boat, not John boat, live well. At the end of the tournament, there were so many dead fish. The director instructed everyone to fire them into the water by the reeds. And when this kayak angler approached him, said, "What the fuck are you doing? Why don't you bring those somewhere to a dumpster or something?" His response was, "Fuck it. The snapping turtle's got to eat too."
Yep.
3 weeks later, this incredibly large and popular body of water was shut for tournaments and has not reopened.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
What was the body of water?
I'm not going to name it because it's going to get too deep, but yeah. So that's a body of water that got closed to everybody because a live well tournament director was basically a piece of shit and unnecessary. If there was CPR involved, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, I understand that is the extreme example.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure there's mortality with fish that go back in CPR. There's got to. They're getting stressed, but they're not being subjected to the amount of stress that a live well tournament puts on them on top of the stuff that they're getting.
Yep.
You know, they're getting hooked, they're getting fought. There's going to be a degree of them being out of the water, getting the hook removed. Then they're either going into a live well or they're going into, kayakers, for example, use a net, put them in the water. They're not sitting out. They're not roasting. They're back in the water for a minute, pull them back in, take the picture, and they're out of there.
Yep.
That's it. Meanwhile, could be 5 minutes they're in a live well, could be they're in there for 8 hours. You never know. So, I don't know. That's it. I don't know. So am I the FTG this week? I am, right?
You are the FTG.
I'm gonna call up. You watch. Crazy Radio Guy's gonna call up and nominate every Nickelback listener in the United States. Fuck that guy next week. That's what I think's gonna happen.
That's perfect. Nickelback slaps. All right, let's get to it. Let's talk sticks.
Jigs and Bigs. Bait of the week.
Man, I'll tell you what, I have been on a tear with stick baits. I love them. It's probably my go-to follow-up bait most times, unless I specifically need something with a wig. Like I, for example, like to throw mine weightless Texas rig 9 times out of 10. That's how I like to throw mine. But that's what we're going to talk about today are rigging techniques for stick baits. Some folks love a wacky. They live and die by it. Oh, you get the most undulation from the edges as the action as it goes down in the water. I get that. It's great. Some folks use a Nico rig for their stick baits. I've never done that with a stick bait. I usually use when I'm throwing a Nico rig, it's like a trick worm or something much, much smaller. Lots of drop shot baits I'll use. But there's a lot of different techniques for rigging stick baits, and I think that there's no shortage. Jig heads, go ahead and chime in with your favorite methods of using different rigging techniques for your stick baits, and also if it's in specific conditions or cover that you prefer to use them in. Now, Joe, go ahead, because I think I'm interested where you're at with this.
Yeah, so my go-to is a Nico rig.
Yep.
It has been for a couple of years now. The reason being is, number one, a lot of plastics, especially stick baits, have a little bit more buoyancy than I like for a wacky rig. There are some out there, 6 Cents, they make their stick bait that doesn't have as much buoyancy. But my go-to is fresh baits, their stick bait. So I use them, and I just prefer to have it in a little Nico. You know, it'll come down and it kind of does that straight. But it's slow. It's not like fat. You know, these are like 1 in 32nd weights, 1 in 16th weights. You know, nail weights.
You're not throwing a 1/4 ounce Nico weight in there.
No. So it's a very subtle weight. I just like the movement. I like the movement. When you throw that Nico weight in there. But when it comes to, that's typically when I'm doing a little bit deeper water with them. If I'm throwing it up in the shallows, I won't have that weight in there. I mean, I'm like the extreme shallows, I'm bringing them in. I will take that weight out and it'll just make it that, you know, wacky rig. I do also use weightless, Texas rig on occasion, especially a lot of weeds and shit. That's kind of my go-to. I do not use a weighted Texas rig. If I'm going to do that, I just use a shaky head.
Yeah.
That's just what I do.
Yep.
But one thing I've always wanted to try, I have them and haven't even used them yet, is a Tokyo rig. That's one thing, you know, not so much with a stick bait. You can use that with any bait, but my go-to is a Nico, then wacky, and then the weightless Texas rig. That's what I use.
Now, what about you, Shawn?
I got a list.
Gotta
rip through this real quick. I use stick baits in some unconventional methods.
Yep.
So obviously I use them weightless, right? With a 5 or a 6 inch stick bait.
Yep.
I'll use a 5/0 hook.
Same.
With a 4 inch, I'll use a 3/0 hook.
Yep.
Okay. Extra wide gap, you know, good stuff. Love them. I will Ned rig them. All right. I will bite about 1 inch or 2 inches off, depending on what I'm trying to do. So I'll make it 3 inches or I'll make it 4 inches, depending on what's going on. I'll use that with a usually an 1/8 or a 16th ounce Ned, extra wide gap Ned head. But in deeper water, I'll use a 1/4 if I need to.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'll also Ned rig them without biting them. So I'll throw the whole thing
almost
on
like a big TRD style. Yeah.
Big. Yeah. I'll do that. Then this is going to freak you out, but I do this in Minnesota with a lot of success and a lot of success for northern pike with this one. I will use them on a 1/4 ounce swinging football head with an extra wide gap hook on it.
Oh, I can see that
whole worm.
Yep.
And especially in deeper water, I caught a, God, I'd have to look, but I think it was 36 or 37 inch northern doing that in about 20 feet of water in a weed bed. And it's constant. I mean, constant, like bass will hit them. Fucking everything will hit those things. In Minnesota, those fish are just so vicious. If something's moving quick, they don't think. They hit it first and think about it later. But yeah, it's got a 3/0, like a super line hook, those strong ass hooks, and a swinging football head. My God, it does damage in Minnesota. And finally, on occasion, I will drop shot a 4-incher.
So for me, when it comes to stick baits, usually I only purchase 5s. I don't throw a 6 very often. So I'm generally getting 5s, and whether that's a 5 3/8 inch sticko or it's a 5 inch, from Fresh Baits, or it's a 5 inch from Yamamoto or whatever it is generally about 5 inches, and I'll trim them down if I need to. Generally speaking, though, 5 inches is pretty universal for a stick bait size for the most part. The main reason why I like to rig them weightless on a 5/0 hook is because it becomes then extremely versatile and I'm going to use a visual for this. I rig these because I'll throw a stick bait to get that little tail wiggle on that, and it's a different presentation because that EWG hook being in the front causes it to fall head forward, but that back of the tail is still moving pretty well, and it does a little bit of everything for my liking. And then when I'm in grass, I like to twitch them like a jerkbait. And they'll come out like that. So this is why, you remember there was like about a year ago, or 2 years ago, really, I was really into flukes. And I was like, oh, this is great. This is great. I realized that that's just one more like it's definitely got its place. But I find that I can use a stick bait and I'll get cute and buy flukes in like different colors, but like I'm not going and buying green pumpkin flukes because I've got green pumpkin stick baits that I can throw. And while it's not dead on, it's close enough. That's my favorite way to rig them is weightless because then you get the undulation. Now, I also don't buy weighted wacky rig hooks because what I do is I'll take a nail weight from a Nico rig and I'll take the weight and I'll measure it up against this midsection and I'll bend it and then just stick it right into the body. And I use it with O-rings, so the hook is going through those. So that's how I do my weighted wacky. In like deeper water or something like that, I'll do something like that. I very rarely throw a wacky. I got to fuck around with this Nico stuff, though, with a stick bait. Because like I said, when I'm throwing that, it's usually trick worms. It's really, really, really thinner bodied baits for the most part. So I'm throwing Nico rig stuff. And maybe I'm missing the boat. But I also am with you, Joe. I don't like to rig them Texas rigged with a weight because to me, I would just rather use a shaky head and get that immediately. Right. I don't have to worry. It's not additional parts.
I also do.
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
I also do like using weighted wackies.
Yeah.
I typically do get the wacky weights.
Yep.
I haven't thrown that much this year because I've been doing so well with the Nico rig, but I do that on occasion as well.
I totally forgot to mention this. We mentioned it on the show before, but there's one other way that I do. I will rig a quote unquote weightless Senko and even some other types of worms. Brush hogs, I'll do it too.
Mm-hmm.
I'll fucking weight the hook.
Oh yeah, with like a split.
I'll either put on Sabile weights that slide onto extra wide gap hooks. I have a bunch of those, or in a pinch, I'll put a rounded shot with no pinchers split shot on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that does a whole new. I mean, the split shot will make it swing down like a pendulum.
Yep.
And then the Sabile weights will kind of do that, but what I do is I don't use the hooks that come with those packs.
Mm-hmm.
I'll use the Gamakatsus that I buy, and they're thinner, so that allows the weights to move. So sometimes those worms and plastics will move differently every time.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Yep.
So yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, that is a good technique. Like a keel weighted hook. I've tried that before actually with like a screw lock. Just because I didn't have it. I don't really carry split shot ever, but like, or anything like that. I was like, let's try this. And it was an 1/8 ounce swim bait hook, right? With a screw lock, popped the screw right into the bait. I was like, okay, this works pretty good. And it does. You're right. It does. It kind of wobbles.
Yeah.
You know,
should see what happens.
Subtle. It's subtle, but it's nice.
You should see what happens when you put a big split shot on a 7/0 hook on a 10-inch fucking ribbon tail.
Oh, I friggin' imagine.
It is
dude.
amazing to see. I was killing bass and I wasn't killing after our last conversation.
Yeah,
I had
just
a
reeling
great
them in,
bite.
stabbing them in the throat.
So yeah, fuck CPR. So I was doing really well with that in Oklahoma when the jig bite died and went to worms. My God, it was fantastic.
I love it.
So that's a lot of stuff. A lot of different ways to rig those things to limit it to your imagination, folks.
And that's the thing. It's such a nondescript kind of bait. Like, is it a worm? Yes. Does it also could it fit that bait fish profile? I guess if you're comparing it like a jerk bait, absolutely. You know, I mean, there's so much you can do with stick baits. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Oh. Good stuff. Well, you guys know what time it is.
There's the drums, baby. There's them drums. All right, we got a couple things to go over. We've covered, and we're going to cover again the upcoming tournament. We're going to cover that in segment 1. I think segment 1 good for you, Bobby. We'll cover that every week going forward.
I love it.
Yeah, we're good. So I want to make sure that we hit our under on fish that we're going to have problems with, okay? Today, though, we had a MAKB West trail stop number 3 at mighty Lake Onoda in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, way up to Shears. And it was rough. I'm not going to lie. It was a rough day for most people. 14 anglers, only 54 fish were caught, and that's counting the other species that were in lunker pools. So we'll go with the 3 spots that paid out for that number of people. Third, Nelson popped in 67 and 75, 67 and 3/4.
Nice.
Jerry, multi-fucking house, 73 and 3/4. And then as we talked about, I had a good day on the water. Conditions were right for me. I threw in 83 and 3/4. Lunkers, big bass, ended up being a largemouth, 18 and a half. That was me. I did that. Smallmouth.
Found him with live scope, didn't you?
Yeah, that's all I did. I didn't cast all day. I actually bumped into fish with the live scope and made them submit to my will and superior technology. Lunker smallmouth, also me with 16 and a half. Pickerel lunker, 18 and 1/4. Nice fish. Todd Brothers hit that. And finally, northern pike lunker, 24 inches because that's how long my board was. I didn't extend my board. I just said, fuck it. No one else caught a pike. I'm just going to go with 24.
Yeah.
Now, here's the downside of being new to tournaments. Brian, that jumped in on the tournament we talked about, left his catchboard at home.
Yep.
Did not put in for any lunker pools other than smallmouth and caught a 28-inch pike. So I said, man, I learned a lesson a long time ago. When there's lunker side pools, you throw in on all of them and just suck it up. You win, you don't, you don't. But unfortunately,
100.
he did catch the biggest pike, but did not put in on the pool, so I got it. Also going on Saturday, real briefly, I want to touch on, in the MAKB, we had the Northern Division, I believe, had a tournament. Let's see how they did. They were on the Sudbury River. It was a road runner.
Oh, that's right.
So they had 21 people. I believe that pays out 4 spots. If I'm wrong, sue me, guys, but I'm going to give you some coverage here. In 4th place, 84 and a half inches was Tim Bean. 3rd place, a name we've heard before, Matthew Conant, 85 and a half. 2nd place, a name we've really heard before, Dude. Nate Shagnon, 88 and 1/4. Nice job, Nate. 1st place, only person to break 90. 90 and 1/4 was Lee Kennan. Nate also won the double down. Good for him. Nate took the lunker of the day with a 21-incher. Good for him.
Nice.
Pickerel lunker, Ken Wood, 21 and 3/4. Names we've heard before, guys. Names we've heard.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Now let's jump over to the shenanigans of chronic trips. Let's see what we got. Oh, tournaments. And I'm sorry, you're bearing with me. It's now 20 after 11 at night, and I am fucking around and finding out with Fishing Chaos. Chronic trips this month. Right now, we'll do, what do we want to do, Bobby? Top 5? Top 6? Why don't we do top 6?
Yeah, let's do top 6.
All right, so we'll do top 6. Derek Brundle, name we've heard before, 8 points with 6th place. Tied up with Tim Jakes, who's in 5th. Again, this all gets straightened out at the end of the tournament. Timmy Jakes.
Yep.
4th, Dude. Nate Shagnon, 10 points. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd are all tied with 11 points. We have Brant Rowland, a name we've obviously heard before. We have Jerry Howes.
A name we've certainly heard before.
Up there at the top, fishing her ass off currently this month. Cheryl Bentley, 11 points. Nice job, Cheryl.
Excellent job, Cheryl.
Good to see Cheryl up at the top. In the top 10, we've got some, you know what? I should have just done the top 10 because the other 4 spots are tied up with 7 points each between 4 very familiar names to this show. We have myself, Nelson, Chrissy.
Yep.
And Butcher. Funny story about the Butcher that we all saw in our fishing report this week. He hooked into a 4 to 5 foot sturgeon in the Connecticut River, thinking it was a rock on his live scope and that there were smallmouth around it. And apparently it burned the line off his reel so fast he had to cut it. He had to lose the lure to a runaway sturgeon.
No shit.
The story I heard.
That is wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. So good for him. The Connecticut River, no matter how polluted, has sturgeon in it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I know friends that have caught them before.
Yep.
Lose their shit because you can't take them out of the water.
You cannot. Those are endangered and protected. Do not fuck with the sturgeon in Massachusetts. Leave them alone. That's pretty much it. Just want to remind everybody, Chronic Trips is winding up. Right now, it's the 18th. We are registering for Jigs and Bigs for next month.
Yep.
And registration is also open for Mid-Summer Mayhem.
We've already got 7 anglers for Midsummer Mayhem.
And I'm one of them.
Yep.
So remember, read the fucking rules. Read the fucking rules. Read the fucking rules. I don't want to DQ fish. Neither does Bobby. We don't want to do that. Read the rules. Turn the fish in right. If you have questions, my contact info is there. Contact us. Reach out on our Instagram accounts, both of us. One of the contestants already reached out to Bobby. Ask questions before some bullshit happens and we're all upset. Okay?
Yeah,
please.
That's the way to do it.
It's on you guys to read the fucking rules. I can't read the rules for you. I'm not going to recite them. Damn it.
I love it. All right.
So
let's go ahead, take a quick break, zip right back around, and we'll talk segment 3 stuff and wrap this show up. How's that sound, guys?
Yay.
I love it, guys. We'll see you guys real quick. Don't go too far. Much more Jigs and Bigs coming up in just a couple minutes. Jigs and Bigs is your favorite fishing podcast, right? Why not show the world how much you love the show while directly supporting us? We have men's and ladies' shirts, hoodies, and a variety of hats. We even have a waterproof outdoor Bluetooth speaker so you can listen to your favorite podcast while out on the water if you like. Check out jigsandbigs.com/shop to visit the store and gear yourself up. If you really can't get enough of this show, consider becoming a jighead and joining our Patreon. It's a subscription that gives you exclusive access to recording sessions that allow you to engage with us as we record the show. We also have some exclusive content there just for our jig heads and even have some special promo codes. Space is limited, so join now at jigsandbigs.com. Finally, if you're local to our area in Western Massachusetts, consider checking out the Western Mass Fishing Report, posted weekly at northeastwildwoman.com. We have amazing contributors providing great content and info for local conditions and what's been going on and working recently. Jigs and Bigs, so much more than just 2 lightly roasted hippies trapped in the 90s arguing on the internet about fishing. Say goodnight, folks.
Make the pain end.
That'll do it.
You know, we started this show and we had our conversation regarding, our little pre-recording sort of meeting when we kind of go over the list of like, these are the topics that we're going to hit. We're going to talk about all this stuff, everything else. And we're like, oh yeah, do we have a guest on for this week? And I said, no, we don't have a guest on this week. I'm working out a couple of things. Some guests that I do have scheduled that I need to record with, I think later this week. I have Dave Shade on the docket to record with later this week. Wednesday we're supposed to record. So next week I'm hoping that you guys will be able to hear. This is an important one because Dave and I are going to be exclusively talking bank fishing. Because he came in second place in the May tournament for Jigs and Bigs, fishing exclusively from the bank. So I think for our listeners out there, we do have a lot of listeners that fish exclusively from the bank. Like Dave is a guy who you can potentially learn some shit from, and this is great. So we're going to talk about techniques, things that I do when I'm fishing on the bank. I'm hoping I'm going to figure out some shit that maybe I'm doing wrong because he was killing it from the bank the entire month of May. So it'll be, I'm sure he's going to be involved with the tournaments in July as well. I'm sure of it. So should be very interesting. So we got that coming up. We mentioned already the to our jig heads. We have an event coming up this winter that is very much a reason to celebrate. And we're doing something really amazing. So we're working behind the scenes on some cool stuff for you guys. We have what else coming up for other events? That's pretty much it. That's like the big one right now. We had a little bit of a shakeup with an event over the summer, and I think we dodged a bullet with that one. I think we did. I think we did. Did not have the time to make that one work. But do you guys have anything you want to add in here? Mentions, thank you.
Happy Father's Day again.
Yeah.
And that's all I got. I'm fucking exhausted.
Good night and sleep tight.
Appreciate our 3 jig heads that are in here. Fishing the Six, Chrissy Fishing is in here as well. We got Patrick Martin in here, says he's alive, slightly inebriated, but alive. It could be worse. You could be a bass that's been trapped in a live well and moved for 15 miles. I am a piece of shit. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this show. Please do us a favor. If you made it this far and you truly love this program that we put together every week, go ahead and become a jig head. You should just do it. You can always, pause your subscription if you want or jump out at any time or something like that. But jump in, become a jig head, get involved, engage with us while we're recording this show. It's the number one best way to get more out of this show is to engage when we do these recordings. So fun stuff. Big shout out and thank you to everybody over on Facebook for following us over there. We're going to do a little something special for y'all and hopefully give away something cool. That's kind of the plan. And then lastly, let's go ahead and just thank all of our listeners. And a quick reminder for you guys, if you could, throw us a review on Apple Podcasts. Regardless if you listen on that platform or not, throw us a review over there. It would really help us out in the long run. Maybe that's kind of what's happening right now, and that's why we're seeing this surge toward everything. We're on the road to 100K for plays. I am excited about it and looking forward to crossing over that sort of milestone and setting on a new course for 250. Let's see what happens. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you guys in 7 days. More Jigs and Bigs goodness. Remember, you can get all of your Jigs and Bigs merch available at jigsandbigs.com. If you are catching any fish, please remember to tag us on Instagram if you're posting pics or videos. We'd love to know about it. Once again, for Shawn the Fisherman and Who the Fuck is Joe Brown, I'm Bobby Roast Beef. Like we always say,
tits and ass, smoke some grass.